Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. Today in the studio, I have James Roffey. I'm going to hand it over to James Roffey himself to explain what he is and what he does. So, James, pleasure to have you in today, mate. Thank you for the effort of coming down and let's talk.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to have me. So obviously my name's James Roffey. I am going to be the owner due to a rebrand of the Ultimate Body and Mind. That's the name of my coaching business. That leads into what I do.
Absolutely.
So I'm an online coach and like a life coach, kind of a hybrid, all rolled into one. Obviously, like my journey started many moons ago. So 36 now, but from the age of 17 to 27, I suffered with an eating disorder. Both anorexia and bulimia, like a mash between the two. And obviously that led me down the path that I am now.
Just to jump in quickly, the one thing I will say is I think what you do is exactly what is needed. It's that balance between the PT coaching and the life balance.
Yeah.
So accepting that the mind is equally as important as the body and combining the two, I think is a fantastic thing, and it's exactly what's needed. A few guests ago, I had a guest on, Victoria, who's a mental health nurse who specialises in eating disorders.
Wow.
And she was talking about this whole situation around the booming online coaches and PTs, but the potential negative side of that when balance isn't accommodated.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think when I first started out, obviously I never envisaged of even becoming a PT. It's just something that just progressed over time. The thing that helped me change my life then became my passion, then my hobby, and then ultimately my career. There's a number of people that were asking me to, God, you've changed, like help me. And it was like, actually, I've got enough people here that I could potentially do this as a job. And obviously that's how, like most things in life, you never actually envisage. There's very few people set out, I want to do this, and they actually do it. Like you just go with life's journey, life's plan. It just detours and meanders, and you end up finding yourself doing something that, like, I love this. I never thought I was going to do it. And obviously that's what it is. But I think when I first started out just as a PT before I became an online coach, I never really pushed my mental health story. I think I just learned to, over time, that there's any gym you go into, there's 5-10 PTs, and everybody pretty much does the same thing at the end of the day. It's like, how can you stand out? What is your niche? And obviously that's where over time I've managed to like hone my niche as, obviously at the moment it's the mental health PT. And obviously that's going to be evolving soon, but it's essentially trying to, what would I have wanted when I was at my worst? What help or structure could have enabled me to maybe change quicker? And to me, it's exactly what my online coaching program, the resilience program, it's kind of born out from that. Like, what would I have wanted in the fitness world, or what help could have enabled me to see what I was doing, but then also help guide me onto a path of, well, becoming a better person, a better man.
To understand that, mate, to touch on that, we'll go back into your journey. You say that you suffered with anorexia and bulimia. We'll talk about that. The one thing I am going to do, though, mate, because very unprofessionally, I've forgotten to turn the lights on. so I can get the clips properly and the lighting properly, I'm just going to flick those on, but we'll talk about that. What happens when we talk for so long?
I know.
We record, I got all carried away.
There we go. They're better.
We're back in business. So your own personal journey, mate. What age did you say?
17.
17.
Yeah.
Can you sort of tell us a little bit about what you experienced yourself?
Yeah, so obviously, like it started within. Obviously, I had a very privileged upbringing. Like my parents, I went to like private school, and I got everything I needed. I never went without, and I never really had any like trauma, setbacks, or anything as a kid. And obviously, from the age of 7 to 17, like I played for Charlton Athletic, it was a team in London as as a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
And
I know
obviously,
Charlie. Yeah,
obviously it was mapped out from a young age that I was going to be a footballer. Obviously, at the age of 17, I was dropped, let go,
Okay.
and that then coincided with leaving school like the same school year, because I didn't do very well in my A levels, and I needed to go to uni. Obviously, my brother and my dad went, and it was kind of just, I didn't know what I wanted, but because they did it, I'm following in their footsteps.
Yeah.
Obviously, I went to a grammar school, so if you didn't get top marks, you weren't really.
You were let go.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like I didn't really have an option. I needed to do business studies, so I couldn't carry on at school, so I had to leave and go to college. So again, that was an upheaval of leaving your friends that you've seen every day since you were like 11. And then when I started college in the September, like the new school year, my mum's mum, sold a house in London to come and live with us. We were having an extension built for her to live in. And then in January, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she died beginning of March. So it's really aggressive.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and I think those three life events that happened in the space of 18 months just completely messed with my head. For someone that's never dealt with trauma.
I was going to say, it's often, it's kind of one of the problems, isn't it? Because when you get to that age at 17 and you haven't had to process much, then when something does happen, it hits you like a ton of bricks. I mean, just to touch on one of the things there, with a football career, was that your path to life?
Yeah.
Like that was mapped out.
Literally,
you were going to be a footballer.
That was it. That was like, it's all I think I used to watch my dad play. And obviously that's, again, I just feel my dad's my idol, and I want to emulate him as best I could. And obviously I was able to, he played like semi-pro, and obviously to be able to like surpass that and almost carry on my dad's footsteps, that's all I wanted. And yes, I managed to like play for the team that he played for, and then I played for my town and my county, and then I obviously got scouted at 7 at Charlton, and then that was it. Like I was, every year the contract was renewed. My little claim to fame was obviously at 11. I got to train at Bisham Abbey, which was England's training academy at the time. So I've played on the pitch next to like David Beckham and Michael Owen, Alan Shearer, and it was just like, this is it. You've got all your coaches telling you that you're going to make it. Like, I was made captain at 13, 14. Obviously for a goalkeeper, that's rare. Just every year it was renewed, and it's just, you just start to believe what everybody's telling you, that you are good, you're going to make it.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
At that stage,
again, like you don't know what you don't know, and if you can't constantly being told that you're good and you're being renewed and you're being made captain, it's like, fucking hell, like I'm going to make it now. And then that obviously that just made the cut even more brutal. And yeah, obviously there was no real aftercare. There was no like feeder club system, like, oh, we don't want you, but we have a number of different clubs. No, it was just go back to what you know. And it's like, I didn't know anything else. Like I was known at school as I was like popular kid, but I was the footballer. And to lose your identity again at 17, when you're becoming a man and you've got obviously like all your hormones are like raging, and for your life to then go, well, that's not my life anymore. I didn't deal with it. I didn't deal with it very well. I never spoke about it, and I just internalized everything. I felt like I was a failure to my friends, to myself, to my parents, to my grandparents who came to watch me. And I dealt with it in a way of, I just started to run. I just used to just run for hours on end. When I left school and I went to college, it was only like 2.5 days a week, so I had a lot of free time. And I just dealt with by trying to run away from my problems. And I think we all know that if the problems are in your head, then it doesn't matter where you run, it's still there. It's
still with you. Yeah.
And obviously that just progressed into me then restricting my food. Nothing. There was no. I didn't read anything. No one in the family had an eating disorder. Like, eating disorders weren't really. We're talking like nearly 20 years ago now. Like, they weren't in the mainstream media.
No, and particularly for men.
No,
for men more so.
Yeah, and it was just however I was wired. That was my thing.
I guess, I mean, speculatively, but I would say that was to gain some sort of control. because you'd had 3 major events that were out of your control.
Yep.
And that was one thing that you could grasp onto.
Exactly that. And I think it was at the start, the running was it was almost, it was almost a punishment, but it was the only thing at the time that actually made me feel anything. I was numb. I was numb to everything. I didn't feel pain. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happiness. Like I was just like stone faced. But the running kind of gave me that adrenaline rush. And I guess had it not been running, it could have been drink, drugs. It was just, that was I think because of fitness has always been in my life with football.
Yeah.
It gave me a sense of belonging. And then it was just, that was my drug then. And when that runner's high started to go, that's when I started to knock back on my food and stop the food intake. And obviously then that gave me that buzz again. And at that time, I started to shoot up. I was a late developer. So I went from probably like 5'9" to like 6'3", 6'4".
Is that what you are now, 6'4"?
Yeah, and obviously and I naturally leaned out anyway. Not that I was never like big, but I naturally leaned out, and I think that masked the weight loss that I had from the
shot up.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't until maybe like 18 months in that obviously my parents started to notice like that I'd almost gone on too far, and I'd obviously gone down the slope, and obviously I was looking ill. When I did go out with my friends, that's when they started to notice. Like the start of it all was like, "Oh, you're looking well, mate." Positive reinforcement of like something that was, they didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. So I was being like positively reinforced for something that was negative. And then it obviously when they start to notice, it was like, "Oh, you need a McDonald's, mate." When obviously by that time it had taken a grip of me. And when my parents took me to the doctors, obviously it was diagnosed as anorexia, and it was like, "What's that?" Like that sounds bad. Like obviously when you explain it, it's an eating disorder. It was like, I haven't got an eating disorder. I was just lying to myself. But as soon as it was diagnosed, I'd already kind of switched to the bulimia. I'd already switched to the starving of myself. I was rebelling against that, and obviously it was then the binging of food and then making myself sick, and that's when my health like really started to plummet. So at 21, I was 5.5 stone, in hospital. Parents had to sign like a do not resuscitate form.
5.5 stone.
Yeah,
so it's like 6'4".
6'4". Yeah, so we're talking like
Jesus Christ.
I think depending on, it's like less than 40 kilos what I weighed.
Yeah, I mean that's astonishing.
Yeah, so the sad reality was obviously I up until probably I went on my journey of transformation. Like I had a obsessive personality. So like if to me being a goalkeeper, I wanted to be the best goalkeeper I could. When that turns into something as divisive as having an eating disorder, I wanted to be the best person with the eating disorder.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like I just took everything to the nth degree, and it was just like that was my job. My job was to have this thing that then became my life. This was my new football. This was the new thing that I've got.
So you were going to be the best at having an eating disorder. Yeah. I interrupted you. You started to say that your parents had to sign.
Yeah, I do not resuscitate form at 21. Whereas obviously I was at high risk of going into cardiac arrest, and with how ill I was, the hospital wouldn't have even attempted to revive me. Which is, I can't imagine what my parents had to go through. At the time, I'll be honest, I didn't give a toss. Like it didn't. Nobody else bothered me. I was so self-absorbed, and I think it's just like the nature of an eating disorder. It's the exact same that if you've got a drink or drug problem. Yeah. It is. I don't care about the repercussions of what I'm doing to myself. I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. I have to do this. I was obsessed. I was addicted. It's just an addiction. I was addicted to food. I had to have that feeling of my belly being full. And then the moment my belly was full, I had to get it out of me. Right. There was this like, I felt comfort and I felt supported by the food in me. And then the moment it was in me, it was shame. And I had to get it out. So yeah, obviously I've stated on other podcasts, I think we worked it out that I was making myself sick about 50 times a day. And obviously,
Jesus Christ.
it was just, if you just get yourself into a routine, like a routine that is so divisive, but I had nothing else.
I guess your body must adapt, or your gag reflex adapts to you doing that.
Yeah, obviously, like people that were like the macabre. Wow, how did you used to do it? I got that good at it. I didn't need to put my hands down my throat.
You could just on demand,
literally. I had my own technique of doing it, which is scary, to be honest. But like, I don't want to glamorize it in any way. But it's like you train your body like you would in any other walk of life. It was a skill, and it was a skill that I managed to hone my craft over 10 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've spoken to a few people over the course of the podcasts that have sort of got obsessive or compulsive traits.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like a dangerous superpower.
Yeah.
Because if you can channel it in a positive manner, it can be a hell of an asset.
Yep.
But if you are consumed by any sort of addiction, like you were with the eating, it can become such a danger.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I said that was the thing that obviously when I went through therapy, and I've been in like an eating disorder unit for 6 months. A lot of the therapists there were asking me like, "Do you want to end it? Do you not want to be here anymore?" And it was like, "Of course I want to be here." It was like, "But you do know what you're doing is essentially like a slow suicide," and it was like, didn't realize you don't. It's not that I never wanted to be here. It was my way of coping with trauma.
Yeah,
and then it became so normal for me because, and this is nothing about my parents. I was so secretive with it, but that routine became normalized for me. That the idea of people telling me what I was doing wasn't normal. Shut up. This is normal because this is my life. Like, and obviously that's the dangerous thing of any type of addiction. When it becomes normalized and it becomes part of your routine, it's the hardest thing to kick. It's the hardest. You have to reprogram your whole, like your neurological pathways, because they're just so routine to doing that behavior that trying to channel that and change it is very, very difficult.
What was the moment that changed it in your mind from being normal to being a problem or a disorder? Was there like something, was there a trigger point or a realization moment where you actually thought, hold on, actually, this is a problem?
Coming out of the eating disorder unit at 23, after spending like 6 months in there, I think despite the fact obviously I still struggled with it for 4 years, that was the light bulb moment when it was like, shit, I'm not in control of this. This controls me. And I think that was the first realization, because like you say, like anybody would say to themselves, I'll stop next week. I'll stop. I'll do it for the rest of the week. Monday, yeah, it's done. And then Monday comes and you'll find an excuse and some crap will go on in your life. And it's like, right, okay, well, I'll just have that just to take the edge off. I think coming out of the eating disorder unit, that's when I realized like, this controls me. I don't control it. I saw numerous types of therapy. I saw like a hypnotist. Obviously, there was no mainstream services available. I was fortunate enough because of how close I was to dying, obviously, that I was admitted straight away into that eating disorder unit, whereas normally there was a 2 to 3 year waiting list to go in.
That was residential?
It was, again, this goes back to it not being a mal thing. I was a day patient. I couldn't be in the ward because it was all women, and they couldn't have like mixed sex on the ward. So I basically went in at 7, left at 7, and that was my routine. Again, that was another thing that I, wrongfully so, one of the therapists made me aware that he'd never dealt with a male before with an eating disorder, and it's usually a woman's problem. That's when it kind of hit me. Why me?
Yeah.
If it's a woman's problem, why me? That kind of, again, finding the right therapist is important. Obviously, he lost me straight off the bat from that, because it was just whatever he was telling me. I was just in my head saying, "Why me? Why me? Why me? What's wrong with me? Why? If it's a woman's problem, I'm a man. Like, well, I didn't look like a man at the time, but I'm a male. Like, why me? What the hell is wrong with me?" See, that was that was difficult. And again, that kind of caused the whole world of social anxiety and whatnot. But again, I think it was as much as you think it's a problem, it was making me aware, being aware that I have a problem, being aware that I don't want people to look at me. So like that's a level of improvement. Whereas before I didn't care, now I do care. So it's like in a roundabout way, that's progress.
Yeah.
To know that I don't want you to see me. So subconsciously, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of how I look and who I've become. And obviously, look at the psychology of men. How do you get most men to change? Through shame. If you can make them aware that what they're doing is wrong, that can shock them into change. I didn't know how to change, but I think when you know that I need to change, that's when you kind of try and seek any type of avenue or explore any avenue to try and fire up some routes of recovery. And obviously mine came at probably 25 when I met a sports psychologist who was very much a completely different approach to any therapist or person that I'd worked with before, where it was like, let's go back. How did it start? Like, what was your childhood like? It was more like, yeah, you've got an eating disorder. Like, do you want it? Do you want it for the rest of your life? No. How are we going to get rid of it then? So it was almost like looking to the future rather than looking into the past, because you can't fix anything when you look at the past. You can try and define the exact moment that it started. Will that help? It may help some people, but it wasn't going to help me. I think I knew it was pretty obvious where it started, like what one of the three triggers those traumas started it. Don't know, probably a combination of them all. And obviously it was just trying to then work together with him to try and fix it. And what kind of fixed it, it sounds a bit nonchalant, it was boredom.
Okay.
It was boredom of the cycle that I was in.
Yeah.
I wasn't living as I won't just say as a guy, but for anyone that's been stuck in that routine for 10 years, I was doing fuck all with my life.
To be honest, James, I mean, I guess as a young lad who's gone through school as probably, like you said, one of the sporty, popular lads, to almost step out of normal life from 17 to 27, that's some big formative years in there.
Yeah, that's it. And that's whereby you always take the positives out of things. Like it's made me who I am today. I think I'm like, I try and coin the phrase like, I'm always late to the party, but I'll always arrive. I'll just be later than everybody else, and I'll see things in a different way to other people, and I'll have a different routines and stuff because I'm not your normal bloke.
It must have given you a fantastic insight into your industry, though, as well, and given you that. As horrific as the experience must have been for you and your family around you, that lived experience of that eating disorder is experience that is very niche. There's not many people that have got, fortunately, not many people that have got that experience that you've got. Where have you ever had that, where you've been able to, I guess, identify a red flag, a red flag on eating?
You see it, I see it a lot. See it a lot in gyms. That if I'm away with work or away doing podcasts, and I stay somewhere and I'll train in random gyms. Yeah, you can see it. Again, it's more identifiable in a woman, but you just see it straight. You just know straight away. There's just the look, the physical look, and it's also like the look in the eyes. You can tell that like they're not just there for their pleasure; they're there because they have to be. There's just it's what I used to do. It's like you see your old ways in other people, or when if you're ever having like a consultation with people on the phone, and you speak to them about their nutrition, and it's just like you don't want to push it, but and it's that's obviously where the empathy comes in, and it's just a very like softly you build a relationship with them. You can't be confronting them straight away. You almost have to like nurture that relationship, and you don't feed it, but you listen to them, and you try and put your own little spin on things with like my past, and you try and tell them that I know what you're going through, and of all the people you could probably work with, you're going to find someone with me that's had 10 years of that. So however you're feeling, I've got the t-shirt on that.
You've put yourself in a fantastic position as a role model, to be honest, James. Because, I mean, obviously, you're in great shape now. You've come through the other end and you've got all that lived experience. So, I mean, in my mind, anyone that was struggling with an eating disorder, there's no better person to turn to than somebody such as you.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I think in terms of, like I said, there are a million PTs and online coaches out there, and it's like, how do you differentiate? And you have to use whatever crap you've been through.
Yeah.
And obviously, I won't say I wish it was only the eating disorder that I had. Obviously, there's been a lot of other things that have happened since my recovery, which obviously we'll get into. And I just think, like, a lot of it is just, you have to, anything in life, whatever crap you're going through, you have to find the positive. And it may not be that the positive comes out straight away, but if you keep going, the cards will all align without sounding like spiritual or like hokey cokey. It's just like there are reasons that you've been tested.
And like
the positives will come out, and it may be a month down the line, 6 months down the line, a year down the line. Eventually, you'll go, I'm glad there was a reason I had to go through that, because that's made me who I am now, or what I've learned about myself or other people. The negative at that time is horrendous. The positive to come out of it far outweigh the crap that you've been through. And that's to be fair, that's the only way you get through it, or you give up. I mean, if you give up, then everybody that's doubted you has won, and you're proving them right. So that's
touching on the word that you mentioned earlier with your program, mate. It's resilience, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's I mean, again, to reference Victoria, who I had on to talk about eating disorders, and she said that male eating disorders are drastically on the rise.
I think we had the chat yesterday. I think it's one of them things, especially with everything that's gone off, like post lockdown. Obviously now we're in like cost of living crisis.
Let's pause there a moment to say a massive thank you to our headline sponsors, Zinza. Now, I am over the moon that Zinza have got on board to support the Talking Tradesman podcast, because genuinely we use Zinza products on virtually every job we do in my business as a painter and decorator. Zinza are a renowned and established brand. They do things like primers, sealers, and stain block coatings, and also things like the mold and mildew resistant finishes that they produce, such as the Perma White in front of me here. Zinza are well known for their stain block and adhesion primers, such as Bin and Bullseye 123, and their new product, the Bin Aqua. Zinza's products are well known for their high performance and ease of use. They cater to both the professional and DIY market, and the Talking Tradesmen are once again over the moon to have sponsored with Zinza as our headline sponsor. Now let's get back to the episode.
I think there has been kind of a shift from like drinking drugs. And I think probably a similar situation, like to me, it's that control thing. People can't always control. You can only control what you can control. The things that you can't control, you can only like adapt and react. But I think there are things that obviously some men and women do to try and take back that control. And it's just a way of like they could feel completely out of control of certain elements of their life, so they have to rein back in the control from some way, and that could be food, it could be relationships, it could be work, it could be over exercise. There are a number of different things that people can do, and it's just I think generally speaking as well, I think society's changed a lot, and I see this firsthand because my son's 17. And I reflect on what I was like and did at 17. So when I was 17, I was relatively sporty. I played football. I played Sunday league from 8 years old till 30. So Sunday, football was, I say that I used to play twice a week for different teams and train twice a week. So I was very active. But weekends, generally, me and my mates were in the pub. It was all about trying to get out, get drinking and all that. My son, like I say, 17 now, zero interest in going out to the pub. And him and his mates are all about the gym. And it seems to be that generation, and it's potentially a positive shift. But like my son on a Saturday night will go out at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, where are you going? Like, go in the gym, meet my mates. And him and his mates are all members of one of these 24-hour gyms. And they'll go and train at like midnight on a Saturday night and come in at 2 a.m. And when he first told me, I thought, come on. I've been here, mate. Come on. And not that I'm an overprotective or pushy dad, but when he was a bit younger and he wanted to go out,
and go and do certain things. There was under the condition. I was like, yeah, no problem, but we've got that whole find my phone thing going on, just so I know where you are. And he was cool with that. And it's never changed, so I've still got it. So when he first started telling me this, I thought, yeah, bollocks. You go into a pub or a club or something.
Yeah.
So I thought, up one night, midnight, 12:30, I'll check where you are. And sure enough, there he is in the gym. And he's, I'll careful with the word obsessed. He's very dedicated to the gym, which is great. I'm all for that. But it shows me that there's this shift, because it's not just him. He's not an outlier. His mates are all the same. And I speak to other parents with kids of the same age, Kids are very much into the gym. And that seems to be a new norm that didn't exist. Certainly when I was his age, which unfortunately is quite some time ago now. But I don't know, have you picked up on that? I don't know whether it's social media or...
I don't know. I think in terms of... it's definitely a positive. Like I obviously with the school holidays that are started now, like my partner at the minute, like Kay, her son is 6. And I had him for a full day on like the other day while she was at work, and he wanted to go to the gym with me. So it was like, I'll take him to the gym. He's got a tablet and headphones. Like he's like, no, I want to come and like join you. I want to do a little workout with you. So obviously, like the gym that I go to, it's quite. It's not one of them like mainstream gyms. So obviously, I know the owner, and his son like runs it, and it's like, so he wasn't really fussed. So we were like just playing around with machines, obviously like safely, and like he loved it. And it's just like, you think that there are far worse, as long as it's done safely, and obviously it's not done. It's done under supervision. Obviously, your son's at an age where he's old enough to make his own decisions. But I think there are far worse things to be doing. It's teaching them like positive habits, discipline, structure, routine, and it kind of like, I'm going to sound old, but to me that's all the things that modern society is lacking. And obviously, it may well be that obviously there's a generational shift where it's obviously focusing more now towards the gym, and you think like, going at 11 o'clock, like, is it really good? It's like, well, what do most 17-year-olds do at that kind of time? Well, they're probably out. So it's like, what would you prefer, out drinking or out
100%
bettering themselves?
100%. I'd rather exactly that, to be fair. There's not a lot of facilities for lads of his age, certainly round here. So if he was going to be out, he'd be in a park or something, underage drinking. So yeah, of course. No, I'm dead happy that I'm conscious of it. I think as a parent, you always worry about it going too far. Because I know, having spoken to him, like some of his friends that he has had since school are dabbling with steroids at 17.
Okay.
Which is, again, sort of leaning towards the image obsession kind of thing. And again, they're looking at images of much older people, again, people that are using steroids online, the likes of Instagram, the likes of all the social media. There's a new norm set, and Victoria, actually, again, to reference her, she mentioned that there's social media are kind of promoting what is present on social media is a male image now that is what would have been an outlier, which is now seen as the norm, which is almost like the Marvel physique, as in the superhero physique.
Literally about to bring that up. I think, again, that goes back to Hollywood. Again, you don't want to name people because of libel, but it's obvious. It's obvious when you see the ages of some of these actors that have been able to get shredded to the bone, yet put on like a stone of muscle, and they're 50. You think like, you're not special. You're just using stuff. It's like, it's not rocket science. Like I've stayed pretty much the same size for, it took me 18 months to put on 5 stone. And obviously that's because when I started at the gym, I was 9.5 stone at 6'4". So the moment I started eating and training, I just filled out my frame. But
out of interest, mate, I mean, how much do you weigh now, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I'm just under, I think I'm 102 kilo.
Okay.
So it's like, just under 16 stone. And obviously I don't know what my body fat is, but
listen, man, you're in great shape. So it's just interesting to hear, for your height, the shape that you're in, to be at 16 stone. I mean, that's a hell of a stark contrast to where you were at as well.
Exactly that. I think when you look, BMI is completely like an outdated metric for me. I don't think it's a good level to judge people, but I think I've probably hovered around 15, 16 stone for 6 years. Like I think that's my sweet spot is between the two, no matter what I do.
Yeah.
Like obviously if I'm going on a holiday, you make sure that you try and look your best. I make sure I obviously give myself enough time but I'll probably hover between that two. That's probably my genetic
Your
limit.
Yeah.
But you think like if I was to start, I'm obviously 36 now, so say obviously I'll still be training in 10 years time, but if in 10 years time you see me on social media and I'm like 18 stone, like brick shithouse, with every right question me, because it's just like you don't get it. I don't understand it. Like these people don't sit out the realms of like you genetically predisposed to be a certain height and weight.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're then pushing those boundaries, there's only one thing. You're putting like an erogenous substance in to help.
To be honest, mate, I'm relatively non-judgmental on it as well. Like in terms of, I think if people choose to use things, fine.
Yeah,
but I think the problem comes when they pretend it's natural gain, natural gains, natural physique.
Yeah,
and then you've got the youngsters that aspire to that, and then they think, well, there's something wrong with me because I can't reach those heights.
Exactly that, and obviously that's where it then borders into obsession.
Yeah,
I think if you were able to say to people, yeah, I take this, I take that, I do it like under doctor's supervision. I get my blood work done, so I know exactly like the levels that I'm at. It's not safe, but I'm doing it in the safest way possible, just for transparency.
To be honest with you, I mean, I'm turning 40 tomorrow. But I'm touching on that. I mean, at the moment, mate, I haven't trained hands. This year's been a write-off for me. But previously, I have gone in and out of training, like relatively consistently and being in much better shape than I am now. But I'm very conscious of the fact of the whole testosterone levels dropping beyond 40. And I will definitely at some stage go and get my bloods done. And if my testosterone levels are dropping, I'll definitely bring them up.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, TRT.
Why wouldn't I?
I think, again, I think when you look at the stats, I think one of the biggest contributors to the decrease in men's mental health is testosterone levels.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural thing. If you have low testosterone, you've got low mood, low libido, low energy levels. And it's like, and if it can be prescribed or you do it, if you know people that can do it safely for you, and you're not doing it in a way that you're just ramming a crap load in, you're not getting anything measured. But it's like, if you can bring it back up to what baseline should be for someone your age, like,
if you can supplement, and that's the key though, isn't it? Supplement versus abuse.
Yeah.
If you can supplement things like testosterone in later life to make your quality of life improved, I'm all for it.
100%.
You know,
it's no different to making sure that you're eating the right foods, getting enough sleep,
taking vitamins,
work-life balance. It would just be another thing that if you're doing all that and your levels are still low, then you're going to need a boost. Because obviously you're going to have people going, I can't believe you're doing that. It's like, well, the benefit of it's keeping me at a level where I don't feel crap.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm doing it for me.
You're all for it.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's probably like the transparency part of it. That's the thing that, again, social media, Instagram, Hollywood, that's the thing. It's creating what's the word? It's
unrealistic expectation.
Exactly that. So yeah, again, I'm not against anything. I'm not against anybody doing anything. It's like if it helps you and it's not to the detriment of your life, your relationship, your work, crack on. Just don't be a dick about it. Essentially,
spot on advice, James, to be honest.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I think again, I'm just like I know in myself, like we spoke earlier on. Like I go to the gym at least. I've probably gone to the gym 4 days a week for the last 10 years minimum. And obviously, then I play football. Christ, I used to play football like 6 days a week. So like that's completely out of balance. And obviously the repercussions of that was obviously I suffered like 3 leg breaks in 8 months from December 2019 to September 2020. Again, was that the reason why? Potentially.
3 leg breaks in 8 months?
Yeah.
The same leg?
No. Left leg once, right leg twice. So the third leg break was just a re-break of the second one. It was never...
So it just hadn't healed?
I got told it was healed. It wasn't. So the moment I came out the cast, it literally broke again. But again, that's you try and look at the mitigating circumstances behind that. I was clearly doing too much. I wasn't I wasn't at balance. I had no life balance. There was no rest period. Like I had, if I wasn't in the gym, I was playing football, and if I wasn't playing football, I was in the gym.
Did the breaks happen playing football?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So like impact on
I've got to be honest, mate. You've stated you're a goalkeeper. I've always had an opinion of goalkeepers.
Mad.
You've got to be a little bit unhinged to be a goalie.
Yeah.
A good goalie.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've known lads that have played in goal just because that's where they play. But to be the man that dives at people's feet and goes in for the 50-50s and all that lot, it's great if you're a good goalie, but you've got to be a little bit unhinged, mate.
You're right. I said we are. Was that the goalkeepers union? We are a bit of a crazy breed. I think it's just the way that obviously I looked up to my dad, and my dad trained me. It's just
was it your dad a keeper as well?
Yeah. So I just it was just like I want to be like my dad. So he trained me from up until I really got signed by Charlton. Obviously, then I won't say proper coaches because he was a proper coach, but. Yeah, like real training then. It's hardwired in me now.
Also, mate, I mean, in terms of positions on a football pitch, it's one, isn't it? You're one. There's one goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, I played football, as I say, never to your levels, but played a relatively decent level of Sunday league. But I played centre half my whole career.
Yeah.
There's 2 centre halves.
Yeah.
I could also play right back or left back. So I had 4 positions that I could sit in to be in the team.
Yeah.
There's one of you.
Yeah.
You know, so in fact, I could even play centre mid if I had to. So, there's a lot less competition if you play outfield.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with me. I had my life revolved around football from the age of 4 to 17, and then I didn't play again from 17 till I was about 29.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because obviously like the eating disorder, and then when I moved up to Sheffield, it was only through a job that I had at when I came up to Sheffield that on a Wednesday they used to play after work, and like you said, nobody wanted to be a goalkeeper. So the moment I said, "Oh, I'll play," like, "Where'd you play?" "I'm a goalkeeper." "Mate, you're playing. Like you play every week." And obviously that's where like I was rusty as hell. Obviously, when you haven't played, you haven't done anything, like you haven't done your sport for 12, 13 years. Like you've got the memory of it, it's like muscle memory. But like your reactions are crap. But then obviously over time, I got better. And then where we used to play, I got asked to play for another team whose keeper didn't turn up. And then one of the guys on their team played for an 11-a-side team. He's like, "Mate, you've got to come and play for us. Like, do you play?" I was like, "No." And then it just went back from there. So again, it's just like,
what sort of level are you playing at now?
I was training with Sheffield FC, which are two leagues below conference. So but obviously that
good level.
Yeah, well, obviously that was just pre-season. Like the team I've signed for, I'm not even sure what step they are, but it's high. It's like the highest level I've probably played at in a number of years. So yeah, it's decent.
Well done, mate. Fair play to for getting back to it.
Yeah, I think again, it's just one of them things that like it is like riding a bike, and I think when your head's better and you're back in the right frame of mind, you just pick things back up. Yeah. Again, there's so many things involved with it. Again, it's the training, being physically fit, eating right, having the social skills, being in a network of people where someone can go, "Do you play football?" Yeah. "Oh, mate, come play for us." And then
I made so many connections in business and all sorts. So, like I say, I played amateur football from 8 years old till 30. I was never, ever going to be a pro. I was never looked at, nothing like that. But loved it, enjoyed it. I've made some amazing friends. The social side of it was, to be honest, why I played. Absolutely loved playing football. Turned 30 and then my body just went, pack it in, Ross. And being self-employed as well and running a business, I had, luckily, touch wood, very few injuries playing. And then the last season I picked up some nasty injuries and that was it for me. So and then my son started playing. So I was like, I'm done. I'll
play for him. I think to me, I've always said the moment that enjoyment goes, I'm done. But I think it's weird because I'm 36, but because I spent 10 years not playing, and it's like I don't the amount that I train and like I don't feel like I'm 36. Like I don't have the mind of a 36-year-old. Or probably, no, I have the mind of a 36-year-old. I may not have the body of a 36-year-old, and I just think until my body gives out, even the injuries, like I never once thought I'm going to stop.
Goalies do go a little bit longer normally, though, don't they?
Because we don't have to run around.
We don't have to,
we're not as active. So yeah, but I think my dad played until he was 42.
Okay.
So I've still got, based on my dad, I still got another 6 years. So,
looking at the shape you're in, you've got a while.
Yeah.
You've got a while.
Yeah, I just think it's just, I think it's not so much at my age, but at a younger age, it's that the social element of it as well. Like to be part of, what do men love to be? Part of a team.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fundamental part of like growing up. I think, like, again, I don't say you have to be part of a team. I think it's quite a big part to be part of a social circle.
I think, and it's great, particularly in the busy world that we live in now. I think it's great. It's almost, I used to find it's a switch off. It's a meditation.
Yeah.
And I think of the word meditation quite loosely these days. And back when I was training consistently in the gym, that was my meditation. Never been a big fan of cardio, so I was always weights. But, going to the gym for an hour and a half, lifting weights, that was my switch off. Just be here in the moment. That was my meditation.
100%.
I used to find football the same.
Yep.
While you're playing for 90 minutes, you're concentrating on one thing only.
Yeah.
You're fully immersed in that moment playing, and it's great for mental health.
100%. I said, like, you're part of a community, and then with my eyes as well, the exact same thing with gym and football. Like, you go into the gym with a really fucking big problem in your head. You spend an hour in the gym, that big problem isn't as big when you come out. You see it differently. You're in a better frame of mind, or it's like your endorphins are running, and it's like, actually, that's manageable. Like, I don't see that as a bigger problem anymore. It's like, because you're in a better frame of mind, and you're not like a negative Nelly. You've got that. You've got that rush of doing something productive, and it's like that then feeds into the rest of your day. Like, things that were a big problem aren't so much of a big problem anymore.
It's huge, mate.
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I'm a massive advocate for it. Mental health and physical health go hand in hand. That's such a huge key component of each other.
Yeah.
I'd go as far as saying I think it's probably virtually impossible to have good mental health if you have bad physical health.
Yeah.
And quite often, like you just said, if you've had a shit day, if you've had a problem, something's come up, whatever it might be, you go and train. Even if you don't train and you just go for a walk, everything feels better after that. Get the body, the endorphins flowing. There's all the science in the world behind it. And it really is, the worst thing you can do is sit and stew on things. If you are sat listening to this and you're having a shit time and you think, what could I do to help? Just do that. Just go for a walk. Go and think about whatever you're thinking about while you're moving. And you'll find that you feel better for it.
Yeah. So this is the thing, obviously, like with me, with people that want have like a client consultation, and we'll jump on a call. And again, they see what I post on social media, and they see how I train, and they immediately think that the training part of my coaching is in the gym. Not if it's not for you. Like, I don't care. Like, that's for me. That's for my own stuff. It's like, if you like to just go and walk the dog, if you like swimming, and like the amount of people I go, yeah, but my PT that I've had before told me that, like, I have to be in the gym. No, you don't. He wants you in the gym so he can take your money. Like, if you don't like going to the gym, I'm not going to force you to go to the gym, because I want you to enjoy the process. Like we said earlier, everything's about longevity.
Yeah.
Like, if you like to walk the dog, headphones on, podcast on, sun out with what we've got at the minute, you're literally like, you're killing like 3 or 4 birds with one stone. You're walking, you're getting vitamin D, you're educating yourself with something, or even just listening to music. You're having that little chill out in your head.
Yeah.
Or if you like football, rugby, swimming, like, I can program that. So you can still have that progressive overload. You can still push the boundaries and do more, but you're doing it in something that you are going to commit to a couple of times a week for the rest of your life, not something you're going to do for 3 months and go, I fucking hate this.
That's interesting, mate. I like that.
It's just
like you quite rightly said, most PTs do. My perception of signing up to a PT or an online PT would be exactly that. I'm going to get a gym program sorted. But to actually be able to incorporate all those other things, I think was really beneficial.
I just, like I said, it's just I know how I know everybody's mind works. It's like, if you commit to something and you don't see it through, you're going to think, oh, I'm a fucking failure.
Yeah.
So it's just like, again, would I advocate going to the gym? Yes. Weight training is massively important for mental health, physical health, like, again, longevity with, if you are like again, tradesperson, being physically fit, being able to deal with the load that you're working. Obviously, having muscle on your frame is going to help. It's going to help burn more calories over like homeostasis doing nothing. So again, there's a number of benefits to it. But if you've tried it and you don't like it, don't do it. Like, there are other. Is it optimal to just go for a walk? No. But if it means that you can stick to it for a long period of time, do it. Like, it's not, I'm not going to think any less of you. And it's not like you can't progress whatever exercise you want to do. You can still push the boundaries. You can wear stuff.
Yeah.
Wear a backpack, put more stuff in it. Like,
even that though, mate. Yeah. You can go for a flat walk. You can go for an elevated walk. You can raise that.
Go for a hike.
Exactly
like
that.
And this is what, I don't know. Like, I know I'm not the only person out there, but it's just like we just need to debunk the thing of, like you said, if I've got a PT, you have to be in the gym. You don't. It's just about looking at the longevity of things. It's like, what can we do to address areas of life that you can make small little improvements on that better you over 6 months to a year, rather than I'll get you shredded in a week. I'll get 6-pack in a week. Like, fucking hell, why? What's the point? Like, you may look good for a photo. You're gonna feel fucking miserable. Like, there's no with the happiness to it. Like, you look at the bodybuilders that are on stage. I've got so much respect for them, and it's like, aesthetically they look like Adonises. If you like that, obviously some people are proper turned off with it and it looks disgusting, but like, physically they look amazing, but they're at the weakest point when they step on stage.
Yeah.
It's like, people like pass out because they're severely dehydrated. Like, you're like not malnourished, but you are pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable for your body. And obviously, like, they'll be on other things to help them get through their prep and be on stage. But it's like, on stage, when they're looking as shredded as they are, they're the weakest they are. So it's like, again, having that standard of like, that's the pinnacle. It's like, that's not the pinnacle. Like, you're pushing the boundaries of what is physically possible, but they're fucking miserable. You think, like, you're not allowed to have sex because you've got to keep any testosterone in your body. You've got to be like dieting down for, these guys are probably used to.
Is that one of the things?
Yeah. No, you can't. You need to keep.
I mean, to be honest with you, again, one of the things I'd heard is that you'd actually struggle to have sex because of
there's a lot.
I don't know, your body's that deprived that basically if you're a bloke, you're not going to get it up.
Yeah.
So that's what I knew of it. I didn't know that you were actually told that if you can, you can't.
Yeah, it's they do it in boxing as well. If you're before, like, fights and stuff, to keep that aggression in.
Unless you're Mike Tyson.
Well, yeah.
He was well documented in saying he didn't abide by that one.
Yeah, but again, it's horses for courses. But I think the general consensus is, obviously, you want to keep as much as whatever's in you. But again, it's just like, again, that's kind of like the realization of what it's like to be on that stage. It's just, there's no longevity in it. And obviously, like with me, again, like, it's not do as I say, because I don't do as I do. I'm wired differently to you. I have a different life to you. My experience has been completely different. My coping mechanisms are different. Like, if you trained with how I trained, you wouldn't look like me because you're not me. Like, I wouldn't look like the best bodybuilder in the world if I trained like him, because genetics are different. Their whole life is different. They are made to do that. If you're in the trade, you're not going to have the same amount of time that I do. So it's like, don't look at me, like, listen to what I say and listen to how I approach things, rather than, oh, he trains like that and he looks like that, so I'm going to look like that. No, you're not. Like, let's just manage the expectation, like, straight away. Like, I'm here, you're here to work with me because you want to be better. So my mission and my job is to make you incrementally better, to facilitate a change within your life over however long you want to work with me, that we make the small changes that you can incorporate that doesn't impact your work life, doesn't impact your family life, well, improves it. That's
I like that, mate. I mean, I guess I'd use myself here as an example. So, like I say, tradesperson, running my own business. I put a lot of hours in because it's my business. I've got a couple of lads that work for me. Free time is a minimum. I have no desire whatsoever to get ripped. I don't. I'm sat now at around about, I think I'm just over 100 kilos, just over 16 stone myself. I'm happy at 13.5 to 14 stone. I'm in good shape there.
Yep.
And I also know I can achieve that by training 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So for me, a vast improvement would be that. Probably drop a couple of stone, consistently training 3-4 times a week.
Yep.
Throw in the odd walk, the odd hike, that kind of thing. That would be a vast improvement on my life right now.
Yep.
The problem, I would say, that I've seen when it comes to PTs is it's almost like that isn't an option. Like the improving
structure.
Like me, like I said, no interest in getting ripped, because as much respect as I've got for people that are, I personally, my life wouldn't be balanced like that. So I would have to either sacrifice in other areas of my life, because there's so much for me personally going on. Business owner, I'm a dad, there's all these things. I see it almost like a circle, and I'm trying to stay as close to the center of that circle as possible. So I'm trying to maintain all these elements of my identity, which is business owner, husband, father. Now, yes, I could push my center dot over to one side into fitness and get in incredible shape, but the other areas around are going to get neglected.
It's the spinning plates analogy, isn't it?
Exactly. So I'm trying to stay as close to center as possible. Now, if I'm honest, my fitness is off center at the moment. It's out of balance. So I could drastically improve my life by making smaller changes like you've suggested. However, when I look at PT programs, it almost doesn't seem like that's an option. It's like you either go all in hardcore, you're going to get shredded, 8% body fat, six pack, photo shoot, or not at all. I mean, what is, to get it on record as such, what's your opinion of these like 8-week, 12-week transformation things?
I think like anything, I see the benefit. I do see the fact that you're putting yourself out there, and in a short period of time, you are changing yourself physically. But again, like with my lived experience, like I know the consequences of that. You could change yourself and look unrecognizable in 12 weeks. And for that photo shoot and the build up, and probably like a few weeks after, you feel on top of the world. Then you get back to reality and you realize, like the spinning plates thing, you can't continually put all this effort into this coaching for your training for that period of time, because like you said, work life suffers, personal life suffers, relationship suffers. So you rein back on it. All right, I'll do instead of being 4 times a week, I'll go 3 times a week. And then like the work, obviously work takes over, and then the 3 times a week goes back to two a week. And then you start to see your body change in a bad way. And then you start to sit with them photos of yourself. I want to look like that. I looked like that before and I don't look like that now. So therefore, like, I'm shit. It's like the detrimental effect. It's just like
registers as a failure.
Yeah. And obviously, like, it's not. It's because you've been out of balance. You've been out of alignment with who you are as a person and what you're able to do. Like, again, the spinning plates. And like, it can have a detrimental effect on the long term. So like, it's always good to just do something fucking random and push yourself. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, about like shifting the homeostasis and just doing something random just to see what you can do to push yourself to that point. But it's almost like you could probably do that in a different way. Maybe not make it like so like physically demanding on your body, or to like the photo shoot, because you're, like I said, memory is always going to pop up anytime you scroll down. It's like, especially when you're feeling like shit and you've got downtime and you're like, oh fucking hell, like look how I used to look there. Like, I don't look like that anymore. Like, I fucking let myself go. It's like, you haven't. You've just gone back in alignment of where you were before. So there are positives and negatives to that. And I think, again, I sound like I'm sitting on the fence. Like, I can see, I can see the pros and cons. It's just about just be prepared for the cons. Like of the in 6 months' time, you're more than likely not going to look like that. And it's just like, it's about having the realistic expectation. I think that's what it is, because obviously I know the detrimental effect that it can have on your mental health, and like to be seen as a failure, that can then spiral into other things and other coping mechanisms that aren't beneficial to you, your life, your work, your job, your relationships, and then for the whole deck of cards can come down. And then
I think that's a really important message, to be honest. Like you say, when you reach, I guess, the pinnacle, then everything in between here and there can seem like failure. Whereas in reality, if you've got a start point and an end point, anywhere in the middle is still an improvement on the start point.
Exactly that.
So you can be on the sliding scale, and yet it's still not a failure if you're anything but at the very peak.
Yeah, I think it's, I said, and I think that's all it is. Like, it's me. It's I go against what normal online coaches or the fitness industry is on social media. It's like, I don't give a toss about your physical transformation in 6 months. Like I don't, because to me, we're addressing not just the physical. It's like you said, it's like if you sign up with me, then we'll do the consultation like call, and we will literally when you want to sign up, it's like an in-depth call, so I know exactly what your structure is at the minute, what you do from Monday to Sunday, and then it's about right. Okay, we could look at tapping into that area there. We don't need that. You could reduce that time. So I've created a 45-minute window 2-3 times a week that, all right, on that day I can go to gym, but on those 2 days I've got to do home workout. I haven't got any equipment, so it's going to have to be body weight stuff. No worries. So there'll be the plan ready and waiting for you. There'll be 2 different body workouts. There'll be like a gym workout that you can obviously rotate every time you go. There'll be like a walking, like a number of steps to do per day. So that it's just there. And obviously, and again, it's like at the end of every week, my check-ins are every week, but they're kind of bi-weekly. So weeks 1 and 3 will be like a training, nutrition. How are you sticking to it? Are you enjoying it? If you're not, what can we do? I don't like that exercise. We'll change that out. How's the diet going? Yeah, I like that, but I'm getting fucking bored of that. All right, we'll switch that out. So again, having that, you constantly mixing it up so it doesn't become boring, mundane. And then weeks 3 and 4 are like your personal check-ins. So fuck the training, fuck the nutrition. How are you? How's work? How's the relationships going? Again, people may not want to tell me straight off the bat. We need to establish that relationship first. But I think the more they get to know about me and my little journey and the things that I've been through, most of the things that I've been through, guys are either going through, potentially going through. And I think like that's when they go, oh, fucking hell, like he gets me. He's been there. And that's when they're a lot more open. And it may well be that we'll do like a check-in when we're both going for a walk. So the one thing I've learned over at least 18 months, women are a lot more open at talking about mental health, mindset, what's going on. Men aren't. And it's like, if you're on a video call, it's kind of, people think you've got a clipboard and you're judging them, and they're going to be quite standoffish. And like we all know, how are you? Fine. Yeah. How's everything going? Brilliant. And like inside, they're fucking dying, and they want to fucking scream at the top of their lungs that they're not fucking coping. You get them out, you go for a walk, you're on the phone with them while they're having a walk. And it's kind of, the easiest way to put it is like, you're kind of not misleading them, but you're occupying their mind because they're walking. So they're not thinking about shit. I don't want to tell you that. And they're a lot more, work's going all right, but contract fell through. Our supplier that owes me money has gone tits up, and like my missus wants to go on a fucking holiday, and I don't even got the money to pay for it. And I'm like, all right, like let's just fucking talk to me. Like how does it make you feel? What can we do? Like just little things. I think that's whereby the mindset side of things, or the life coach comes into it. Just fucking tell me your problems. Like air it with me. Like there's no, whatever gets said stays between us. And it's like, and if I've got enough in me that I can then offer guidance and an action plan to deal with whatever that issue is, then I will. And then we'll focus on that for the time being. And if it means that you can't train for a few weeks, fucking care. It's balance. Like it will write itself out in a year of training. Like you're gonna have a year of working with me. There's gonna be enough time that you'll have free time, that if we're averaging 2 sessions a week, there'll be some you can do 3 a week. So that will make up for the time that you haven't trained. You've done one a week or none for a week. But it's like, if you haven't trained for like a couple of weeks, there's a reason behind that. And that reason is more pressing than the training. So it's like, if the training isn't there, well, let's make sure the nutrition is. Let's make sure that your nutrition's dialed in. So we're making sure that we're still hitting what you need to hit. So it's not like the whole deck of cards hasn't come down. Like that needs addressing, but this is more important to start with. So we'll focus on that. Make sure your mind, to me, the mind is the most important thing. Like you'll get coaches say that your training is more important than your nutrition is more important than your training. Your head's more important than anything. Like if this is fucked, you're not going to want to train. You're not going to want to eat properly. You're not going to want to function properly. So like, let's address that first. And obviously that's where my approach is a lot different. It's not that I'm laid back and it's just like, if you don't want to train, don't fucking train, mate. Don't. I'm taking your money anyway. It's not about that. It's just that, like, it's just life. Like life gets in the way. Like I love to train all the time, but there's been countless times over the last 6 months that I haven't, because I haven't wanted to. I've got more pressing things that are occupying my time, I can't train. I haven't been as consistent. Has the world ended? No.
I think it's brilliant, mate. Honestly, I genuinely, I love what you're doing. I love the whole overall view of it, the balance, and the attention being given to mind and the mindset as well. Because like you said, if your mind's not right, nothing is going to get the attention it deserves.
No.
You're not going to operate optimally in any area of life, whether that's work. And then it's this snowball effect, isn't it? If you can get the mind right and you're more optimal at work, then you'll have more time to train.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. It's such an important key element that gets overlooked.
Yeah.
I mean, getting on to that, mate, because we've gone off on a lovely couple of tangents, which is great. I love doing that. But let's come back to you a bit and your personal lived experiences, because like you said, you've got that lived experience that you can communicate with your clients, where you can resonate on things that a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got to, obviously, your own experience with your eating disorder. And how did you transition into coaching? Like, how did that step all come around?
It really came about when I started going to the gym. I think I didn't really know what self-development was. I fell into it at the same time that I fell into the gym. I became, again, my life wasn't balanced. It was all gym. I quit my job. I remember ringing up my dad. Trust me, Dad, give me a year. Give me a year and I'll be a different person. And I was. Unbeknownst to me, I made a public declaration on Instagram, which was obviously like, I'm going to post every day. I'm going to do Facebook Live workouts, and I'm going to show people that I'm going to commit to this for, obviously I didn't know it's going to be for the rest of my life. It was just like, if I put myself out there, again, going back to that failure thing, failure is a massive issue for any person, but just for me, it's like my kryptonite. I can't be seen as a failure. So I made this decision to Instagram my transformation. And obviously that's where obviously like the Instagram kind of blew up because of it. And it was just, I loved it. I loved training. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was learning on the job, like most people do when they first get into the gym. I had guys that were guiding me, and then obviously the transformation. I never had a end goal, and there's like, I want to get to 15 stone. It was just I'm just gonna keep training until I'm happy. Pretty much that. It was like my thing is like, why do most guys train? To look better naked, to make sure that you can take your top off on holiday and don't feel self-conscious. You can go, I can take my top off and I don't care because I'm happy with how I look. That's kind of from the aesthetic point of view, and obviously there's a mental point of view with that as well. That's kind of the level that I got to. And I got to that level where I could take my top off in the gym and I wasn't conscious about everybody. Like, is anybody looking? Like, I don't care. Like I kind of became, for the first time in my life, probably proud of the effort that I put in. It's probably the first time I've actually stuck to something. Obviously the football thing was, I was young and I was being guided by coaches and whatnot. This was me. And I think this is whereby, unbeknownst to me, the self-development journey started. And it's just like off on a tangent. I think the physical side of things is the gateway to people bettering themselves. If you can stick to something for 3 to 6 months consistently, and I'm not saying every day, I'm just saying consistently, like the change that you can make in that time, you feel like a different person. And then it's just like, well, if I can do that for 3 to 6 months from the physical point of view, if I then apply that to my relationship, if I apply that to nutrition, if I apply that to my career, what can I do? And it's like, I think the fitness, the physical point of view, it's the quickest thing that you can change, or it's the thing you can change in the quickest period of time that can get that ball rolling, the snowball effect of like, well, if I apply it to this, what can happen in that time? And I think the leveler of it as well is, it doesn't matter who you are. Like, you could be a multimillionaire with the best equipment in the world, or you could literally lift crap that you find in a breaker's yard. You still get the same result. And it's a leveler of the effort that you put in is the effort you get out.
Yeah.
You can't, if you half-ass it, you get half-ass results. Like you could half-ass a business idea, it's a bit of a tangent, and someone could run with it and it could fucking explode. Whereas obviously, like if you don't put in the work consistently in yourself, physically, you don't get the results. And I think it's very much like it doesn't matter who you are, what background you come from, physically, it's all you. And I think that's kind of the change in my head was like, if I do that physically, how can I push this mentally, and how can I push this into my career? And obviously that's where the number of people that were asking me to train them. And it was just this, I've got enough people here that if I was to charge X, it'd be the same as if I worked in an office. I don't want to work in an office anymore. I could work for myself. And then that's obviously how it started. And so I became a PT in February 2019.
Was that like in-person PT?
Yeah, that was literally just in the gym, working in the same gym that had changed me,
right?
Like physically, or changed me in every way. And then obviously that coincided in 2019 is kind of when I kind of had two jobs. I had the PT and it's when I got into the it sounds almost like a dick, like the modeling and the extra work. So I started like doing acting work and whatnot. And again, random.
How did that come about?
Instagram.
Really?
Yeah,
just
from
Instagram.
An agency was like, "Oh, have you ever considered doing this?" I was like, "No." Would you wanna? Fuck it, why not? Like that's I've done. And again, it's like one of these points where I've never been a religious person. It's not been something that's been pushed on me, or I've had this desire. But spiritually, it's almost like if you set yourself out on a task and you constantly, if you're consistent with it, you do get rewarded with things that you never thought was possible. Like opportunities literally fall in your lap, and then it's up to you whether you want to run with them or not. And it was just like, I've got nothing else. I'm single. I don't have any other ties. I'm doing my PT stuff. But if I'll get on telly. Yeah, right. And then obviously that's what I did I kind of did the both until the end of the year, until the December. Obviously, it's when I broke my first leg, and then while I was recovering with that was the 28th of December. So I saw the new year in a cast, and that's when I met my ex-partner. We got together during the leg breaks, and obviously then we forged our relationship. I broke my other leg 6 weeks later, in 4 places.
So did you? Because a time scale, mate.
Yeah.
So did you literally take one cast off and then break the other leg?
Yeah. It was like I had a double fracture in my left leg, so I was in a boot for 4 weeks. So end of January, I was back. I was out the cast, and I was back in the gym and walking on I like the incline treadmill, putting stress through it. And then I got told it's fine, it's fully healed. Back playing football, and I was like, I gave myself it was a semi-final of the cup, and it was against our biggest rivals who we'd always vie out for the league. They were like our biggest rivals, and it was 1-1 at the time, and I think it was like a couple of minutes into the second half. Ball's coming to the edge of the area. Their striker's running for it. My left back's running for it. I've called for it, so I'm taking them all out. And I knocked knees, like knee to knee. And what I didn't realise, again, impact was painful. Like went down and like rubbed it off. Adrenaline's running. And semi-final of the cup, it's right. It's just a bang. Little did I know I'd fractured my leg, so I was playing with a fractured leg. And then it wasn't until about 10 minutes before the end of the game, they put a cross into the back stick. I've planted my right foot. Again, I would have probably been, back then, probably 15 stone. So as I planted it and tried to press off of it, as I've jumped, my legs just snapped and it's just buckled underneath me. Like the worst pain I've ever felt. And then it was like, I went into shock because I thought I got shot. Yeah. Everybody heard the crack. Really? I heard bang.
So it was a clean break.
Yeah. To me, it sounded like a shotgun. And it was like someone held a lighter underneath my knee or inside my knee. Like I just felt like my leg was on fire. Obviously, game got stopped, ambulance got called, and what happens when it's a football injury on a Saturday afternoon? Like 5 hours waiting. And then I remember they managed to we played on like a 4G pitch, like AstroTurf. So they brought my car onto the pitch. It started to get cold, and obviously I only had like a short sleeve top on. I managed to prop myself up against my car, and it was like looking down at my leg, and my leg just had this weird, it's like a snake, like an S.
Really?
Like it just looked, even with my shin pad and my socks on, it just looked like deformed, and it was just like, oh my God, like what the fuck's going to go on here? And obviously when they cut me out of my boot and cut me out the shin pad, and like I wore like compression shin pads. So they weren't just your normal shin pad, it was like a sleeve. So, and they said that basically stopped the bone coming out
through.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
Christ.
I never had to have surgery, which was great. But obviously I got let out of hospital a week before lockdown.
You didn't have surgery, or did they just reset it?
Which was, again, I
didn't
passed
have to
out.
pin it, or
No. Again, with any of these leg breaks, none of them, I didn't have surgery with any of them. So again, count the blessings.
Yeah.
So like, as much as it, like the first leg break in hindsight was a piece of piss to deal with. Like a couple of weeks later, I was back playing, happy days. This one was was horrendous. Obviously, like, the whole of lockdown, I was in a cast from like toe to upper thigh, literally just leg just fixed out in position. Obviously going for like checkups every now and then, which was difficult. Obviously getting transport, and COVID was there, or COVID. So going in and out of hospital was an issue. And that's obviously, during that was when I started the relationship with my ex. And it was kind of born out of trauma. Like both legs had broke. We're now in a pandemic, and I'd been single for 4 years, so I was very comfortable being on my own. I'd forged this life that I had on my own. So for someone to come in, I was very standoffish, very guarded. But for someone to come in and do all this stuff for me, and to basically be my nurse, do my shopping, take me to appointments, it was like, this is nice. I'm wary, but this is nice. And obviously I gave in. Obviously I started to develop feelings for her, and we became a couple during lockdown, and just thinking that it's my time. This feels different. This is the only element of my life that was missing. Was I'd created this little career. I'd got a following on social media, and I was building my life. But the only thing was missing was someone to share it with. And that's where it just progressed over time. And I ended up, obviously, in the September, I came out the cast, got told it was clinically healed, and that was when we came out of the lockdown then. And again, even during lockdown, I bought some adjustable dumbbells while I was in hospital, and I bought a bench, and I had my whole plan written out in my head.
About 10 grand, James. Yeah.
No, but it was before that. Really? I made a right killing on that.
Mate, the fucking cost of gym equipment in lockdown went through the roof.
I bought it before, so when so I was lucky. I was a right investment that. So I set myself a target of, like, I was doing 500 press ups a day. I was doing like my weighted workouts, and then I was walking 2 miles a day, hobbling 2 miles a day on crutches. So like the leg was broke. I was just hobbling around. It was just the mental side of keeping as close as I could to my normal routine as possible. And obviously I got let out of the cast in September. The first game of the season, I was like, I'm going to be back for the first game of the season. Fucking brilliant. And it broke again. And during the game, it's literally like 5 minutes into the second half, foot got stuck in the ground, boggy pitch, and literally just pulled. Obviously, my tib and fib had broke. Yeah, and obviously, I got told it was healed, and my foot got caught in the ground as I've jumped, my lower half has stayed in the ground, and obviously from like the knee up, went up, and I've literally just separated my leg again. So I was back in the cast again, and then we went back into a lockdown, and that was difficult. That was dark. That was the worst time in terms of my own mental health, because by that point I was skint. Obviously, being a coach, gyms weren't there. There was no acting work. I couldn't work because of my legs. So from the third leg break, I had to go cap in hand to my mum and dad. So my mum and dad paid my rent. They paid my bills. So at 32, I just felt completely emasculated. It was like, so it was just difficult. It was a difficult time. But like always, I tried to keep myself as positive as what were my options? Like, play the victim and like woe is me and go into a pit of depression, or try and focus on the positive. Like I've got my weights, I can try and keep myself active. I've got my partner. So there's far worse people. There are people in far worse positions than me. Focus on that. And then I had to wait. I came out the cast again. I was clinically healed again in the January, and I didn't do anything. So for a guy that works out every day, I didn't work out for 4 months. That was horrendous for me. Like the mind was just like, you're lazy, you're lazy, you're lazy.
Yeah.
And to see my body change, I went from being ripped to, in my head, not ripped. Obviously, people were telling me, mate, you're still in shape. It's like, it's not in my shape, not the shape that I'm used to. But I had to give myself time. I had to give myself time. I think mentally it was awful, but physically I just what I needed to make sure that my leg was actually healed. I had to wait a year to get a bone density scan to see whether I had a weakness in my leg because of the eating disorder, whether I had like early onset osteoporosis or sarcopenia, weak bones.
Oh, shit.
Luckily not. The funny thing was I have bone density stronger than someone my age. It's like, why the fuck do they keep breaking then? It's just one of them. It's just one of them situations. Like wrong advice, probably too eager to go back. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
But then obviously coming out of lockdown, that's when I decided I had to change my job. I had to evolve it, and that's when I decided to relaunch as James Mental Health PT. That coincided with me moving from Sheffield to Huddersfield to be with my partner, to like live together. And then
I must admit, mate, just the name, I know you're rebranding, but it caught my eye when I saw it, because my initial impression was, that's different. The combination of PT and mental health together, that did catch my eye.
Yeah, so I think it served me. It served me up until now. I think obviously that's whereby there's been we'll get to the whole change in everything, and just trying to evolve everything. So that's obviously I relaunched that based on a number of people like reaching out to me after lockdown. Obviously, how much they struggled. Everyone had their own shit to deal with, and it was like the first time in people's lives that they didn't really have an escape. Some people would never. They'd always have. I know you could drink, but you'd go out and socially drink and take stuff and be with people, and you couldn't do that. So it was very much a first time where you had to look within, and a lot of people, it was like a sink or swim.
It's been, again, I've spoken to a lot of people, and it really has, that time period really is a catalyst for a lot of people suffering mental health problems, experiences, growth in some elements, because like you just said, it forced introspection on a lot of people. I think it gave people a lot of different perspectives. It's sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way.
Very much.
And even me personally, actually, in my business, it did exactly that. Because I was running, when lockdown came along, I was running full pelt, 14-hour days, 5 lads subbing to me, 6 of us in total. And it forced me to slow down because a few jobs stopped, cancelled, and all the rest. I continued working, but the workload temporarily dropped. And it gave me the opportunity to pull my head up out the sand and kind of go, actually, do I want to be doing this? Like, that was a bit much. You know, and I slowed down from doing 14-hour days, running 3 teams of 2 essentially, to dropping it down to 1 team of 2, working normal days. It was like, actually, did I need that extra money? No. So it was a revelation for me too. But sorry, mate.
No. So I think obviously that's whereby it was like there just seemed to be this need for me to almost cater to people, and obviously that's where the name was born, and the whole idea was born. Obviously, I'd moved from Sheffield to Huddersfield, so it was like new start, new business, new area. No one knew me, and obviously that I spent 18 months there trying to build what I've got like now. So I managed to get involved. I still sit on Huddersfield. It's Calderdale and Kirklees are the 2 councils. I sit on the self-harm and suicide prevention team there, which is good. So you get like an insight into like statistics and what they're trying to do, and I did some work for like NHS and like the RAF and obviously, and then obviously the client base. The client base was more, despite me having my own app. So I transitioned to being online with my own app. A lot of people that were working with me were new and still wet behind the ears. So they needed that accountability. So I would train with them once a week. So they'd have the app to follow. Obviously, my app's got how to do all the exercises, like video tutorials to how to do it. So if you're stuck in the gym, shit, why do I do that? Just press the button and it plays like a run through exercise for you. So you're not lost. So but obviously the other part of that was to have a like a one-to-one with me once a week. So I programmed that into the program, like with them, just to give them that extra accountability. And it kind of, it helped me grow my relationship with the people as well. And I think back end of the year, I had like 17 clients, and my goal the back end of last year was to be on, like, not that it's important to have a monetary factor, but again, it's a goal. It's a financial goal, was to be on like 5K a month. And I was very close to hitting that. Obviously this coincided with my relationship. I'd already got engaged and got married last June. And thinking like, fucking hell, this is me. This is that I've met the one, and like work's going well, and then still being like newlyweds on a honeymoon, we'd always spoke about having kids. She had a daughter from a previous marriage, and we'd always, I guess we kind of matched in regards to marriage house kids, do it in the old fashioned way. And it was just like, so the next step was like looking at a house. And obviously while we're on a honeymoon, we said about like trying for kids. And unbeknownst to me, I got dropped the bombshell that she hadn't been on the pill for about a year. And that was kind of like a fuck. Like, no, that obviously wasn't late, wasn't anything.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't even see it as a bad. I didn't see it as a bad thing, as in like, well, you should have told me. Like, it wasn't. Obviously, I wasn't going anywhere. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's odd. So then when we got back from honeymoon, we decided to both get checked just to make sure that we were all good. Like, my brother had an issue, like conceiving with his wife, but it was all good in the end. So I'm thinking, like, if I have got an issue, it's fixable, it's treatable, it's all good. She got the results back via text message that she was all fine. And then obviously I've not been to the doctors for years, so I didn't know what the procedure was. And then I got the text message saying you need to ring to make an appointment to come in. And it was like, they found something then. I was like, whatever they found, if it's like my brother, we can do treatment and it will be all good. And the beginning of November, I remember her saying about, like, can I come with you to the doctors? I was like, can I do this on my own? So, because if it is bad news, let me process it, not with you right there, because I'm going to have to like support you without dealing with it myself. Like, she wasn't happy with that at all. I can understand, but this is happening to me, so fuck it, it's my decision. Like, you don't like it, respect it anyway. Like, I'm your husband. And obviously the results were that there was no sperm in my sample. So it's like, what does that mean? It means that it could be a mistake. There could have been an issue in the testing process, like contamination. I said, what's the result? What's the likelihood of that? They're like 97% certain of the results. I was like, okay, so what does it mean then? And like, so more than likely that you're infertile. And it was like, okay, IVF, like, we'll have to retest to confirm. But if you don't have any sperm, no IVF. There's no nothing. You are infertile. There's no chance of having a kid.
So to clarify, IVF would be to help people with a low count,
yes,
or
low count, slow swimmers.
Yeah.
Like if they're like erratic, like going different
The wrong way.
directions.
Yeah.
So, and I just remember just sitting there. And I was like, the doctor was amazing. Like, she's a lovely woman. She went like, she said, I've got another appointment. She said, but do you need to, she could see me welling up. She's like, do you need a minute? I was like, yeah. I remember like she put her hand on my knee and she went, it's going to be all right. And I just fucking broke down. I'm just thinking like, again, I overanalyze situations, and I still suffer with anxiety. Just, I don't, it's just how I'm wired. I care about things that are like, why are you thinking about that at this moment in time? But it's like, at the time I'm thinking, how's she going to think? What my parents going to think? Like, the whole family, how they're going to think. Like, this impacts a fuck ton of people. Like, well, I can't have a kid. Like, I remember I just cried. I just cried. It was just like, I didn't know how to deal with it, so I cried. Just get it out. And then I had like 20 minutes to drive home. And then in my head, I'm thinking like, how do I do this? How do I talk to her? And obviously, as I get home, she's pacing the kitchen. And then I had like a middle unit, so you sit around it, eat around it. So she's standing one side and I'm standing the other, and she's like, so it's like, it's not good news, babe. Like, unless there's an issue with the results, like I'm infertile. And it was, how the fuck could you do that to me?
That was a response.
That's a response. And it was like, difficult to say the least. You're trying to process it yourself, and you're thinking like, so I got the support. We'll get through it. Like, we're married, we'll get through it. Obviously, like, we fast forward to, later that day, I left for a week. I couldn't deal with the blame. I was blaming myself anyway. Like, despite them telling me that we'll retest, could be fine. And I'm thinking like, was this my eating disorder? Was it the long-term damage of me being that ill, that underweight, that I've shut off my testosterone? But I'm thinking like, but I'm able to build muscle. I put on a lot of muscle, and like, muscle, testosterone, babies, it's fine. There must be something that can be done. And obviously I had to wait for another test. We did another test, same result. And then it was like, we went to a fertility clinic. I had 3 tests done at the fertility clinic, and the same result every time. So then it was obviously trying to understand what it was. So having numerous blood tests and all that, and all this while, it was just, I felt alone. Like, you know, obviously we're in different industries, but like, when you're trying to keep your business going, and obviously I go to gym, I play football. I don't have many friends. I'm a sociable person, but I'm not a social butterfly. I don't go out very often. It's like my friends revolve around the gym and football, but when I moved to Huddersfield, like, my circle was my partner, and her family, and her friends. You could probably spot where that's going. So when I felt like I was then suddenly made the outsider. So what do you do when you're the outsider? You focus on your own shit. So I buried my head in work, buried my head in the gym, and I relied on my mum and dad. I spoke to them every day. And that drove an even bigger wedge between my partner and I. Like, we lived with her mum. So like, she'd go to her mum to talk. I'd go to my mum and dad to talk. And obviously we were just poles apart. And I could not understand the stance that was taken. Especially when we found out that it wasn't because of the eating disorder. It found out that this hasn't been fully diagnosed, but they think it's Klinefelter syndrome, which is like a genetic defect, where essentially, like, I was born with a Y chromosome attached to the 2X chromosome. So obviously I was born a man, but I had this Y chromosome attached to me, which basically renders me infertile.
Okay.
So eating disorder or not,
wouldn't make a difference.
Broken legs or not, whatever. It was just, and it just so happened that the time that I spent in in hospital with the eating disorder. Obviously, it wasn't tested. The time I spent in hospital with my broken legs wasn't tested. And it was, this is the take home message that we'll get to is like, I was meant to find out when I found out. Despite the fact that this caused my marriage to break down and my wife to leave me, I was meant to find out at that moment in time.
Yeah.
And like, you don't, and I understand people are going to go, well, it's fucking easy to say that now. It is, because you have your coping mechanisms in place to get through like the dark time. But when that dark time goes and kind of that mental clarity is there and you realize it's difficult. I didn't think that the person that I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with would treat me in that way. And I'm not playing the victim here. Like, I don't need pity. I don't need sympathy. Like, I wouldn't treat people like that. And
James, that's your truth though, mate. I mean, I'm sat here, I'm trying not to judge, but my initial reaction to what you're telling me is that's horrific. You in that moment, not only was that an incredibly difficult moment for you, because we do it, don't we? We plan our lives out mentally. I'm an overthinker myself. Yeah. So, you'd have had that plan, like you just said, your plan was marriage, house, kids. Now that plan has been scrapped.
Yeah.
And then you've got to adjust then to a new future, a new life. But to receive judgment and blame for something that you had absolutely no control over.
I think that's the really difficult thing. And like, in hindsight, like, could I have handled the situation better? Yes. Could I have communicated better? Yes. Did I feel that I could communicate? No. So it's like, again, it's not. I'm not going. I'm void of responsibility. It's all like I could have made her listen to me. I could have sat her down and was like, "You're going to listen. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel and how I don't feel I'm being supported." Or like, if I tell you everything, maybe you would see it in a different way and look at it from a different point of view and have more like critical thinking and going, "Oh, okay, I didn't see it like that. Right, how can we move forward?" I didn't do that, and it wasn't reciprocated on that behalf. So we were just at the like Christmas time was, we just like played happy families for like our families and her daughter, like my stepdaughter. And then at the start of the year, I went down to my parents who live in Hythe. So it's like nearly 300-mile journey from Huddersfield to Hythe. And I went and had therapy. And obviously by that point, we were just drifting. I won't say out of sight, out of mind, because that's derogatory. But obviously, ultimately, she found someone else. And that's each to their own. But it wasn't done in a way that if you're going to leave someone, you leave them with a bit of respect. Yeah. I'm probably going to get crap from this if it gets seen, because there's always two sides to every story. She has a very different story to me. Like you said, I'm speaking my truth. Her view will be completely different to mine. But ultimately, the problem happened to me, and I wasn't. It wasn't seen like it was, "Oh my God, it's happening to you. How do you feel?" It was, "Why are you doing this to me?"
That's hit me, yeah.
And it's obviously like, that's her way of dealing with it. That's the situation that unfolded. I dealt with it by luckily having therapy. So I was able to, before the inevitable happened and she left me, like, I had this mental clarity because I'd stepped out of that bubble of our relationship, and I was talking about our relationship to a therapist, and it was like most girls have the idea of their dream wedding and the white dress and whatnot. I had it in my head what marriage was like. And the thing with me is that my brother and I are very different people. I'm sporty, sociable, not academic compared to him. My brother is very much like my dad. Business orientated, work ethic is phenomenal. Like, just what they do in their careers, they are champions of their industry and doing it. I want to get to that now, but like I say, I'm very late to the party. Like I'm a lot later in life realizing where I want to be. And obviously it's my own life experience that have taken me down that path. But for the first time in my life, I was at the same level as the pair of them from the marriage point of view. I wasn't there career wise. I wasn't there monetary wise. I wasn't there from having my own children, but I was there from a relationship point of view. And I latched onto that and I didn't want to give that up. And I think like you, there's a thing called the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until probably February this year that I read that and I was like, fuck, that's literally what I'm doing. I'm living, I'm trying to do everything I can above and beyond what you should be doing to save something.
I mean, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the first person I ever heard explain that was a PT, James Smith.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay. But for everyone that's listening, can you just explain what that is?
The easiest way to explain it for people is if you are on a slot machine and you keep on putting pound coins in, thinking that, well, if I put enough in, eventually I'll win the jackpot. Sometimes you need to cut your losses and go, this isn't going to work. That's the easiest way that I can explain it. And that's the easiest way I've explained it in my head.
Good analogy.
Yeah. And I think it's just, there are some things in life are not meant to be. And when you reach that point, the other is like you have to burn the boats. You have to walk away and burn any way of going back. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's the fucking hardest thing to do because you've become accustomed to that life. And speaking from my own point of view, I'm very much a creature of habit. Hence why I'm so routine with the gym and my eating and my work. My life and my relationships are exactly the same. Like if I'm not at home, I'm in the gym or I'm playing football. I'm very, if I go missing, you're going to find me very quickly. And for that to be uprooted, honestly,
to be honest with you, James, it's not just you though, mate. I think there's a lot of people across the country that, or even people listening to this, that would probably, on reflection, I've spoken to people in my social circle and say people who are in unhappy relationships. And when you ask them, well, why are you still there?
Yep.
The answer is the same. It's, well, we've been together 8 years.
Yep.
Well, we've been together 12 years. Well, we've got kids together. And you can do the same financially in business.
Yeah.
You know, well, I've invested 20 grand. I've invested 30 grand. And it's always time or money.
Yeah.
So I've either invested X amount of money or I've invested X amount of time. And that is the reason I won't walk away.
Yep.
Whereas in reality, there comes a point where you do have to abandon ship. You know,
and I think that's, again, it's the last thing you do because the one thing that my dad has always taught me, he's taught me many things, but it's like, I don't care what you do, as long as you're happy and as long as you're healthy. And then the other point is, if you put your all into something and you don't get the outcome, it wasn't meant to be. As long as you can go, as long as there's no what ifs, what if I did that? What if I did this? And I reached that point. I'd done everything I conceivably could do at that moment in time. I then went and got therapy to try and make the situation better. And you can do that for yourself, like the therapy and all these things for yourself. But the realization is, if you are reliant upon someone else to match that, that's out of your control. You can't make someone want to put in the same effort as you or explore the avenues that you want to do. And it's just one of them sad realities of like, well, it's not even sad. It's just happened. We lived in our little bubble, and we had that bubble shattered by news that affected both of us. It affected me. It impacted her. That's what it was. But it was treated like it was her. But obviously it wasn't. Like, you can go and find someone else and have another child with someone else. I'll never have a kid. And that's really difficult. And even now, like there's things that just randomly crop up on telly when you're out walking, and it's just like, it's like a slap in the face. It's like,
I mean, yeah, you're probably answering the question now, but have you come to terms with that news?
Yeah, I've come to terms with it in the fact that, and I think this is like, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to people that are listening, but I think no matter what shit you go through, there's always the positive. There is always a positive to come out of it. It may well be that the positive's tiny, but there's always a positive. And I think it's just about, like with me, all I did was put my coaching hat on to myself at the start of this year. And I had no balance. I will be honest with everybody here. My business went to shit. I lost all my clients. Obviously, all my clients were based up in Huddersfield, and I made that decision myself because I wanted to make my marriage work and do everything that I could to make that work. Because in my eyes, I could build the business back up. Like the idea of like building your marriage back up, like once it's gone, it's gone. Like there's no, once that love's gone or that commitment's gone, it's gone. Like you don't get that back. So I made that decision, and obviously I gave up everything to make the marriage work. And obviously when I knew it wasn't working, or the decision was made by my partner to leave, it's like all I did was go back to my own coping mechanisms. So I got myself in a routine with, I had no reason to get up in the morning, but I still got up at 6 o'clock every morning. I made an hour's drive to a gym that was fucking miles away so I could train with my mate. So I could do my early morning workout. So it got me up. It put me in a better frame of mind. So I felt like I'd done what I needed to do early on. I'd come home, I'd have my breakfast, I'd go out for a walk. When I lived at my parents', I lived by the coast. We were right by the coast. So I used to do my morning walk, and I set myself a stupid task. Again, it was just, I always aimed for 10,000 steps a day. When I was down at mum and dad's, it wasn't like, I'm going to do 15,000. I put it on social media, like the public declaration. I'm going to average 25,000 steps a day for a week. And I averaged 27. And it was just like, again, it wasn't healthy. I wasn't in balance, but it was just like, for this moment in time when I feel fucking horrendous, I needed to be so dialed in and just give myself a challenge. So I was working out. I get up, morning workout, breakfast, walk, therapy session more often than not, and then another walk, go to gym, and then I would purposely plan my walks that I'd see the sunrise and I'd see the sunset, and then I'd go home and I'd go to bed. That was my routine for probably about 5 weeks, and was it benefiting me from a career point of view? No. I think it was just helping me stay at a level where my mental health didn't slip, and I was still regimented and focused and routined, and I had a purpose. My purpose was to do this silly challenge that I'd set myself. And then pretty much after doing that, it was like, well, what the fuck do I do now? Like my little circle of friends from down south were like, you got to stay down here, and this is like a key moment, you have to come back. And it's like, I didn't feel at home. When I go down to my mum and dad's, we usually go down for maximum of a week. And I'd initially gone down there for a month, and I was there for 4 months. And it's just like, I felt like a burden to my mum and dad.
Right.
When I went to Maidstone, obviously my hometown, and where I used to go when I went to the gym, and I'd go for a walk around the town, that it was like, it was so familiar. It was so different. And I didn't feel at home. It wasn't like I was born there, but I'm not there. And I remember like speaking to a person that I'd met out in Dubai last November, and we'd done a podcast together, and he's a mindset coach, and he's a motivational talker and speaker. And I spoke to him, and he was just like, you need to be where you were happiest. Where are you happiest? And obviously at the time I was like, I was happiest in fucking Huddersfield with my wife. It's like, that's gone. You've burnt the boats on that. It's gone. Where was you happiest? And it was like, Sheffield. That's where I changed my life. That's what like caused me to be on this journey now.
Yeah.
So I went back up to Sheffield. My brother lives there. So I went back up and stayed with him, and it was just, I just felt comfort. I felt at home. And that's when obviously I was just flitting between Sheffield and back at my parents. And I went to Edinburgh for like a few days for work. And then while I was in Edinburgh, I was just, again, this is the take home message. Just being I don't even know what I was doing. I was on Facebook, and you get like little friend suggestions. Like there was this woman there. It's like, you know, she's attractive. It's like the first person that I'd actually like seen and gone, because I felt like I was still married. It was just like I felt I didn't see anybody else. So like I'd go into a room and I'd only have eyes on my wife, and it was like I just saw this woman, and it was like, fucking hell, she's stunning. And we had one mutual friend, which was a friend from football. I was like, how does a friend? That's it. I was like, didn't even think anything of it. Went to have one of my meetings and came back out, and she'd accepted it, and then she'd followed me on Instagram. And then like she liked a couple of pictures, and I liked a couple back, and I sent her a message and like saying like, thanks for liking my pictures, and then that's how it started. Like it literally were like teenagers.
The modern courting process,
yeah, exactly
James,
that.
isn't it?
Exactly that. And so the 3 days that I was in Edinburgh, I think for 2 days, or one day I spoke to her for 14 hours.
Wow.
Literally like just back and forth voice noting, and I found her attractive, but we never started out. We were just talking to each other. Like there was the flirtation came later, but it was more just, who are you? Like, what do you do? Like, where have you, I lived in Sheffield for 6 years. I never found you. I never what do you do? Where do you hang out? And like just random chat, just getting to know her. But it just felt nice. And I just felt like I felt wanted for since like November. I genuinely felt rejected. I felt like a bit of shit on a shoe. And it was just like for someone that was asking me questions, was praising me. Obviously, she saw what I did and she really supported what I did. And like she said that there's like that's really admirable that you've been able to like change your life around and like turn a bad story good. And then when I came back from Edinburgh, like we carried on talking and we arranged to like meet up and went out on our first date. And I mean, like by the time we went on a first date, I felt like I knew her. Like we'd been talking for like a few weeks, but it was like morning, noon, and night, like voice notes, video calls, phone calls, and it's just been amazing ever since. It's like we're official now, which is always weird because I'm going through the divorce at the minute. So there was this very odd conversation quite early on where she did a little snooping on me, and obviously on Facebook it said that I was married. So it was like, and obviously the wedding pictures are there because not long been married, and it's just like, I'm not. I'll be completely honest with you. This is a situation, and I think she admired it. She's just like, you're almost too honest. Like you've been like, and it's essentially like I'm still married. My wife's left me. I'm infertile. Can't have kids. Life's gone to shit. I'm rebuilding my life. I'm not exactly a catch. Do you want to meet me? And yeah, just obviously, I think just that honesty was probably like a rarity for her from probably the people that she's met in the past, and it's been amazing.
Do you know what, mate? There's so I can resonate really deeply on that myself. So obviously, I'll mention before recording, I've been through divorce, and essentially on paper, I lost everything.
Yeah,
lost my house, money, kids, the lot. Spent a period of time single, and then met my wife. So I'm remarried now.
Yep.
But not to pull it back onto me too much, but everything you're saying there. So when I met my wife, I had a conversation with her, and I remember saying to her, and she remembers it because I had this conversation. I literally said to her, I said, look, because I met my wife, I thought she's stunning. She's way out of my league.
Yep.
Her social circle was wealthy people, attractive people doing well for themselves. And there was me, who I thought, I've lost everything. I'm in the building trades. I'm on my arse. I'm renting a flat at the minute. I'm literally flat broke, struggling. I remember saying to her, I said, look, I've got absolutely nothing I can offer you right now. Like, I've got nothing to my name. I've lost everything, but I promise you I'll get back on my feet.
Yep.
And again, I mean, her being her, she was like, I'm not interested in you for that.
Yeah.
Like, it really doesn't matter. But also touching on that, so I went through a long divorce process. I actually got engaged while I was still married.
Right.
It was not meant to happen that way, James, in fairness. There was a date where the divorce was meant to go through, and it didn't. And it was one of those that got engaged in Mexico. So I'd got it all planned and everything. And I was fully expecting to be divorced. But for reasons I won't get into, it got dragged on longer.
Yep.
And I had that moment of, fuck, this is wrong. Like, I really shouldn't pop the question while I'm still married.
Yeah.
But in the end, I thought, fuck it. Like,
Feels right.
That's dead now anyway. It's just a formality.
Yeah.
So yeah, mate, I can. There's some resonation there.
I think it's just like when I've told the story and I've told it to people that obviously I've reconnected with since being up in Sheffield, and it's like, fucking hell, you had a shit life. It's like, I haven't. Like, it's been my shit. Everybody else has the same shit. It's just
you've had a life
to them.
James. You've had a life. Life is this.
Exactly that.
And I think that's a really important, powerful message to put out there, is that the older you get, if you're do you know what? Again, I read a quote. So if I'm honest, I've been a little bit like, this whole turning 40 thing has rattled my head a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I've always had in my head 40's halfway. And then you have them thoughts of where you start thinking, well, am I really where I wanted to be at 40? You know, I thought I'd have achieved this, or I thought I'd, materialistic really, I thought I'd have this or be here.
Yeah.
And I saw a quote yesterday, literally just popped up. It was obviously meant to be. And the quote read, it was very simple, and it just read, aging, what is it? Aging is a gift that not everybody gets to experience.
Wow.
And just bang. And I was like,
that's deep. That
couldn't be more right.
Yeah. Again, you can apply that in so many different ways. It's just in terms of like it may well be that I've had an unfortunate period of time, but some people have never been able to experience some of the things that I've done, and never will be able to. And like you said, I think that's just that's just it. Like, you have to take the rough with the smooth, and what's like, you can't have the rainbow without rain, and it's just,
life will inevitably throw shit at you.
Yeah. Well, I always coin the phrase to my clients, and it's not about being a Debbie Downer. I said, life will always fuck you up your ass. It's like it will, but I think it's just like it has to, because sometimes you need to have that moment of, you're happy in your bubble. You're almost like just doing the mundane stuff. You're almost in a rut that's serving you, but then all of a sudden, bam, something just completely changes everything. And it's just like, fuck, okay, right. What I was doing wasn't really, I was going through the motions. I wasn't really living. I was existing. Right. Okay. This is like the wake up call to sort your stuff out. Like, do something different. Do something you've always wanted to do, or push the boundary on something that you've always wanted to do or achieve. And it's just, like you said, like, and the take home thing, my new favorite phrase is that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. There's always a reason. There's always a reason that something will happen. And even if it's something that you've done yourself, there's a reason you've done that. And it may well be that, again, something in your life isn't going to plan. That person that you're with, you've done something because you don't want to be with them, or they've done something to you because they don't want to be with you. And it's just like, it's better that you know than live a lie.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's always going to be like a few months of pity and woe. And I'm not the type of coach or person that's just like, you're not allowed to feel shit. Like, if stuff happens, positive, go on. No, like, it's fucking life. You're allowed to play the victim. You're allowed to have a little bit of wallow in the self-pity, because you need to sit with that feeling of shit. Yeah. Feel crap, and then go, how do we change it? What can we do? What's the action plan? Like, you have to sit with that feeling of crap. Otherwise, you're going to mask it. You're going to put happy faces on where you're fucking dying inside, and you're doing everything that you shouldn't do. You have to feel it. You have to talk about it. And then it's like, it's only when you feel it, then you actually go, okay, like, how am I going to make myself feel better? What can I do? And obviously, like with me, it's the 4 pillars. It's the physical, it's the nutrition, it's the mental, and it's the balance. It's obviously making sure that if you've got them plates spinning all right, you're doing all right. Like, you're doing all right. You've got a point in your life where you've got like full balance of everything. Like, eating wise, moving wise. If you're eating a good thing, if you're eating good, you're feeling good, you're thinking good, you're going to have more motivation to be active away from work. You're going to be more active and present with your family and your friends. And then it's just like that holistic view of everything. I think just all improves.
It's virtually impossible to argue with that. Because like you just said, if all of those 4 pillars are fulfilled, it's impossible to you're going to have a good life on that.
Yeah, and obviously, and like shit's always going to happen. Like, people are going to come and go. People are going to pass away. Jobs are going to come and go. Your career's going to come and go. But it's like, if you've got that foundation in place, you're in the best possible frame of mind, physically and mentally, to go, I can fucking deal with it. And I think that it sounds almost like counterintuitive, but the more shit you go through, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Because you're hardwired to go, I dealt with that. I've dealt with this. I've dealt with that. Bring it on.
Like, you're still standing.
Yeah.
You're still here.
Yeah. And it's like, like you may have to take a step back, 2 steps back, 3 steps back. But if you've got enough in you to go, right, okay, right, I've drawn the line now. Like the woe is me is gone. I'm going to build myself back up. And you build yourself up like 4 rungs. So you're 1 step up from where you were when it all went to shit. So you're a better person. And it's like, life is never constant. It's always peaks and troughs. And sometimes you've got to go really fucking down. But if you've got enough in you and you've done it before, you've got the tools to go, right, okay, let's sort my shit out now. Like, I've done enough of the wallowing. I've done enough of like feeling sorry for myself. I've let myself go. Like, my food's gone to shit. My training's gone to shit. Work has always been a constant because it has to. But how can we rein it back in and feel better? And obviously that's where people that are feeling like that, that's where I feel like that's where my little gift is. That's where my USP is as a coach and a person. Yeah. So yeah,
I agree, mate. And again, I'll echo what I said earlier. I think it's fucking brilliant what you're doing. The whole package is so important. It really is. Just out of interest, have you ever looked into any of the Stoics? Have you ever studied the Stoics?
I wouldn't say I've studied. YouTube, obviously, like very, very big on. There's a guy, I can't remember the guy's name. I subscribe to his channel. So there's always things that I'll listen to, especially when I'm on my walks.
A lot of what you're saying echoes a lot of Stoic teachings.
This is the thing. Like a lot of stuff, like I fell into the personal development. Obviously, like I know all about it now, but for the first couple of years of my own transformation in the gym, like I was doing this completely fucking unaware of what I was actually listening to or what the information I was consuming. Because obviously a lot of the fitness stuff I was listening to was like educating me in the gym. And obviously, like it's like, oh, because you listen to this, have a listen to this. It's like, what's this about? It's like you listen to it, and it's like, it sounds a bit like kooky. And then you listen to it more and more. It's like, actually, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you go through shit, you learn about yourself, and you kind of like you're then hardwired to deal with crap. And you've got this like defense mechanism or coping mechanism in place that when thing does go bad, you go to this, and like things always happen. There's always a reason why these things happen. And even if it's self-inflicted, it's because of you're out of alignment with who you want to be. And it's almost like you're subconsciously sabotaging the situation you're in now because you don't fucking want it. Like you deal with it, or you go through the motions of being in that job, being in that relationship, but something you will do will get you out of that situation because you don't want to be in it. And it may well you do it, or the person that you're with will do it. And obviously, and there's always a reason for it. And it's because it's trying to push you either to something better or to shake you out of the rut that you're in. There's always reasons for everything. And I think you have to look at it like that because there's always the positive.
Once you can look at it that way, it's such a powerful shift.
Yep.
Its mindset is so important. There's a particular book actually called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
Okay.
Who again is like he studied the Stoics. He's like a modern day Stoicism.
I think that's the guy.
Might be. He does a little podcast, I think, or he does like one quote a day. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But he's done a book. The Obstacle is the Way. Get it on audio if you haven't. It's fucking brilliant, mate.
Okay.
But the general premise behind all of it is kind of what you're saying, James. It is that everything happens for a reason, and you can find a positive in everything.
Yep.
In terms, the little daily things you go to get in your car and go to work. There's a flat tire. Well, that's okay now. You get to go for a walk, or you get to. If you can't go to work, well, now you've got a day to catch up on other things. And it's turning everything into the positive, and that's the whole premise behind the obstacle is the way.
Yep.
So the things that are put in front of you that you have to deal with, that is the way. That's. And it's that the old saying, isn't it? It's character building. Yeah. But there's truth to that. There's truth to it. That's what builds you as a person, all the experiences in life that you go through.
Yep.
And some of the most interesting people I've spoke to are the people that have been through the most amount.
Yeah.
Because they've learned all the lessons, and then you can get people like you that can sit here on a podcast and pass those lessons on.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant, and it's a commendable thing to do. So again, I'm very grateful for yourself and for all the other guests that have come and sat in that chair that have done that, have thought, I've been through this and I've learned this and I'm going to go and tell people.
Yeah.
Because that's, like I say, it's a commendable thing.
Isn't it? Pay it
Absolutely,
yeah.
But not everyone does it, mate.
No,
so it's worth, always like to express the thanks because it's not a given.
No.
So, I mean, moving through your story, and obviously you've talked about the situation with your relationship, and now you're in a much better place.
Yep.
Which I've seen on your socials, which is it's nice to live vicariously through you. But let's talk about your new program and your rebranding.
Yep.
Because I find that interesting. So I'll hand the platform over to you to explain what you're doing and why.
Yes, obviously, like the last, it's like coming up to a couple of years now that obviously I've been like James, a mental health PT, and I think it got to like December time. December just gone. November, I went to Dubai with the app company that I work with. I went out to like a seminar, like a 2-day seminar out there. As well as a little bit of sightseeing. And I think speaking to people that are far more commercially minded than me, that don't have my story, don't have my lived experience, and they're far more just like the churning out of clients and the rinse and repeat. Obviously, that isn't me, but there was a lot people obviously that were trying to understand me and learn about how I could evolve my business. They were saying stuff to me about how the name could be stopping me. And it was like, really? Like, I thought it was all right for the time. And so that stayed in my head. And obviously with the situation that I was in over Christmas last year, I had a lot of time to think about stuff. And I kind of felt that the more of my clients that I was speaking to, that there was always an issue with testimonials, about making it aware that they were working with me. And I was trying to understand why, trying to navigate that awkward conversation with them as to why will you not, if I've got you the results and you feel like a completely different person, like why would you not want to shout about it? And obviously the few people that got back to me all said the same thing. They said that the idea of them saying to their friends or their work colleagues or their family that they're working with James Mental Health PT, all they could hear people going is, why, what's wrong with you? And obviously my clientele are 95% men. And it was just, there's still the stigma attached. And it was just like, you know what, that makes sense. It does make sense. Like, and obviously again, as a PT, the image of it is that I'm in-house, a personal trainer, when obviously I'm an online coach. So there's kind of that discrepancy in what I call myself and what I do. If I can do sessions with people, if they are local, or obviously I've done it before with people that have been with me for a long period of time, I will always schedule like a meet-up, no matter where you are. Up, if you're up north, down south, I don't care. Like if you've been with me for 6 months, a year, to me, you deserve to have like face-to-face, whether it's a coffee, whether it's a PT session or both, whatever. I think like if you're investing in me, like I invest in you anyway, like I take on your issues and I take you on almost like as you become friends. I've become like long-term friends with some of my clients just because like you build that bond with them, and like to see them from where they were to where they are now, you can't just go, off you go. Yeah. There is a real bond that you form with people, and you are invested in how they are. And I think it's like I think there'll always be, if I get back to where I was last year and again and progress that, then it'll be great to have like a meetup, just like a day meetup. Like we'll hire somewhere, hire a gym out, and we'll just do a big gym session with everyone, and we have a big meetup and just like vlog it. And again, because what I like to do as well is obviously you're not just, I'm building a school community as well, which is obviously like a free online community whereby people that can't afford me, that still want like resources, this is like it's going to be not launching at the same time as the rebrand of my business, but it's hopefully a few weeks away. That there's going to be like an online like community that you can join that will have information like free stuff of me talking about certain issues. And again, the issues will be dependent on what the community want. So it's about making sure that I have a free community of people that, again, people understand that people need information, they need support, and they may well be in a position that they can't afford it. So there are like entry levels of information, and obviously then you've got the paid stuff. And I think it's just about, it's not so much giving back, it's just about creating that community whereby, like you do with here, people that come in and they've suffered from X, Y, and Z, they can go through the library of episodes and go, well, there's 3 or 4 episodes there with someone that's dealing with the same things as me, and they can cherry pick information. And it's like, that is massive for people that feel that they are the only one and they're the only ones that are struggling. To know that there are other people, it shatters that why me
100%.
And I think that's whereby the issues that I can help with, anxiety, social anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, being like, again, just self-conscious in the gym, issues around food, obviously severe issues with food, eating disorders, or disordered eating, again, like you can spot the signs. And but also men that are dealing with fertility problems, you like relationship breakdown, like divorce, just like rebuilding your life, starting again. Like, I don't want to sound like I've been there, I've done it. Like, I've got the t-shirt. And it's like, so if you can build a community of people that can come in and go, fucking hell, I'm not alone. And there's like a step-by-step guide. And obviously then if they need further support, they've got me that they can work with.
That's such a huge thing, mate, the not being alone.
No.
Because on a lot of like the issues that you're talking about, you can't go and cure the problem.
No.
But just to let somebody know that there's somebody else that's walked the path.
Yeah. And
that there's somebody that's willing to stand there and talk.
Yep.
And be able to listen and coach people through those things is huge, mate.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Especially it's more so for men. I think women are far more like open to seeking help, to talking, and to almost researching it. Guys just immediately assume it's only them.
I agree.
And it's just like just to be able to be that little fly in their ear, like, mate, you're not alone. Like, there's a whole fucking group of people here that are dealing with it. Just come in. Like, this is free. Just come and join it. You may not need it right now, but it's there. You can just dip in and out when you want. You can put questions up anonymously, so you've got complete anonymity of like, if you don't want to be, if you're not at that point where you want to be able to shout out yourself, just put like anonymous question in. And
the whole, I mean, there's 2 sides to this. So first of all, from a business point of view, I completely agree. I agree with everything you've said in terms of the name change, and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And for you as a businessman and to grow your business, I think you need to do it. It's a great idea.
Yep.
Not that you need my approval. But it's also an interesting element to talk about when you talk about men and the fact that we don't want to talk and that we're more solitary. That whole, the stigma that's still attached to the words mental health.
Yep.
And the misunderstanding of mental health opposed to mental illness.
Yep.
That it's a shame on many levels that, for example, your clients wouldn't want to be associated with that terminology because of the fear of people thinking, well, there's something wrong with that person.
Yep.
Whereas in reality, and I've used this analogy quite a few times where I've actually said, if people thought about their mental health in the same way they do their physical health, in that you need to train it, you need to keep it fit, you need to work on it the same way you work on your physical health in the gym, you need to work on your mental health in other elements, whether that's therapy, whether that's coping mechanisms that you already know. It's a shame that they're not on the same level.
So I've been singing from that same hymn sheet for years, and it's obviously like, just if everybody had that, then I think that stigma would just be shattered.
Well, mate, how many people post daily? And I've been guilty of doing it in the past, on your stories in the gym, leg day, arm day, chest day. Fucking nobody posts therapy day.
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm at the therapist today. I'm talking about this issue. Nobody, because we do, and it's no judgment. It's as a species, we're very conscious of our standing in society, of our peers, of judgment. It's hardwired in. It's just a shame, and it would alleviate so many problems if the stigma was different around mental health?
Yeah, I said I would say that I was guilty of that from I think because I didn't know, and I still don't know the exact thing that I've got in terms of the genetic. Obviously, we know it's a genetic defect. We don't know what the actual name of it is. There was still one test to go that I did do the back end of last year, and I've not got the results, and the doctors don't even know where the results are. So it's been like it's gone AWOL. But during that time, I didn't talk about it. I spoke about it after. And I don't know. Again, you can claim both sides of it. I think I was still very much unsure of what was going on, so I didn't want to mislead anybody, offer up any like misleading information. I didn't want to say that I was infertile, and it's like, oh no, actually we've cocked up. Oh, actually, I'm not infertile. Just scrap all that. And I think again, it was like I don't want to say that I was giving my partner respect. I think I was giving myself respect because I didn't know what was going on. And I think until I knew I had complete clarity of the situation, I'm happy to talk about it now. Like, and I've been happy to talk about anything that I've gone through. Like, to me, I think very much if you can take ownership of it and speak about it, you remove the stigma. You're in control. It's not in control of you. And I think that there's very much strength in talking rather than bottling up. But I get it because for years that's the social norm. Bottle it up, deal with it yourself. And you've got the stats to prove that it's fucking pointless. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all.
And it's just like that's Einstein's definition of insanity. You're doing the same shit every day and expecting a different result.
Yeah,
like there needs to be a change. And if me doing it can help, and it can help one person speak up, and that person, it's just a pay it forward philosophy, isn't it?
You're playing your part, and to a large extent, that's all we can do. You, me, we can't fix it.
No.
But if I do a bit, you do a bit, the next person does a bit, eventually, hopefully, that snowball gets big enough to make a difference.
Yes, you planting the seed for a tree that you know you won't see grow.
Exactly
that's
that.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And again, you know, if that's to help a generation in 5 generations' time, it's like you said, it's planting that seed. And hopefully, I've been surprised this whole experience of doing a podcast. My biggest concern when I started this was I thought I'm going to struggle to get men to come and talk because notoriously we don't want to talk. We don't want to open up. And I thought there's 2 things there. One, I'm going to have to conquer my own fears, and I'm going to have to be an open book myself. So I've got to put myself out there, but I'm going to struggle to get people in. And the opposite has been true, James. So
batting them away now.
To a degree, yeah, but it's been such a pleasant revelation. And like to mention the clothing line that I've launched, the 2 slogans. One, the obvious one, let's talk. But everyone knows that. But the other thing that I've realised since providing this platform is that actually when men feel that there's a safe platform to come and talk, we do want to talk. And there's plenty of people that want to talk. A lot of the problem is we don't feel anyone's listening to us.
That's very true.
And and that's the other element that I'm trying to push is let's listen and trying to stimulate people to realise that listening is equally as important as talking.
Yeah. I think to add on to that as well, the thing that I've also found is talking is the first step. And obviously having someone to listen to you and actually be listened is important. And then I think equally as important as being able to talk is actually actioning something.
Yeah.
Because the thing that I've found, and I don't want to mention names, but there's charities that I know that I've become very much mainstream. And it's like this stereotypical view of an AA meeting. You sit in a circle and you all talk about your problems, which is brilliant. But then there's nothing else comes from that.
Yeah.
And I think like the impact that has, if you sit around a room and just talk about your problem every week, to me, you start to normalize that problem. So that problem isn't a problem anymore. You just talk about it. And it's like, unless you address it and you put something in place, that problem remains. Like, yes, it's not a taboo and people know that you have that problem, but what are you doing to eradicate it or eliminate it or try and reduce it? I think, again, that there's like an added, I know I'm probably like however many rungs up the ladder with that. Like the initial step is to get as many people talking as possible. But I think once you've spoken about it, it's then there has to be some kind of action plan.
I agree.
Otherwise, like I said, nothing actually changes.
It's a process, James, isn't it? The way I see it, and there's all these stages to it, and unfortunately, people get stuck. on the rungs or on the stages. Process. The first point is recognizing there's a problem.
Yep.
It's perfectly fine to sit in that. Like you said, you've experienced something. It's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit in that moment. You can experience the pain, the sadness,
Yep.
the discomfort. But at some point, you have to accept responsibility to move.
Yeah.
And that's on. I'm sorry to anyone listening. That's on you. That is on you.
It is. I think it's not. You got to be cruel to be kind. To be fair, like someone may have put you in that shitty position. I get it. Like everyone, majority of men and women, everyone would have experienced it. But then if you don't do anything about it, then they've won.
100%.
Like that person, you've become stagnant. You haven't elevated yourself. You haven't bettered yourself. You haven't tried to. Then maybe the other people have wronged you, but you need to try and right that within your own life. Otherwise, you just play that victim.
But we have to take responsibility on ourselves for that.
Yeah.
You have to be accountable to yourself, nobody else, because nobody else's life matters overall.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've experienced a trauma, a hardship, whatever it might be, it was a Stoic quote, and there's a quote, I think it was Marcus Aurelius it's Epictetus actually, quoting philosophers here, but who said, you're not in control of the things that happen to you, only your reactions to those. And that there's a lot of truth in that things happen, that's shit. You don't just move on the day.
No.
But at some point, you have to grab yourself by the scruff of the neck and go, okay, that's happened. It's shit. It's hurt me. I don't want to be here now.
Yep.
That's the movement.
I think that was my stumbling block for years, because I felt like it was like imposter syndrome with me. Because it's like, I'm telling people to change. I sat with that for 10 years. But then how I switched that was, but I did change.
But then you moved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, again, I put my post up yesterday was about your body. Your body is a vessel. You only get one. And like, obviously I screwed around with it for 10 years. Like, the body's a remarkable thing, but ultimately you have to treat it with respect, because once it goes, it goes.
Yeah.
And like you said, but we all want to be here for as long as possible. And it's like, you have to make sure that you treat it right. You fuel it right. You look after it. Obviously, like I didn't for 10 years, but like I did. I've managed to turn to right the wrongs, and I'm on a path to making sure that I never go back there. It's just that same thing. Like it was like that. I found like listening to myself back early on, I just felt like a hypocrite. There's me telling you to change, and I didn't for 10 years. But it's like, oh no, because I did. Like, some people haven't, and they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like I was able to change. So it's like I need to get rid of that negative connotation. Like I did. I may not have done for ages, but I did.
You can't put a time scale on it though, James. You moved when you were ready to move.
Yeah. No, exactly that.
Like you said, the point is you moved.
Yeah.
You moved from the position you were in, and you've progressed and you've learned, and now you're paying it forwards and helping others. Yeah. So maybe you needed to sit in that for 10 years.
Maybe so. Yeah. So obviously the lessons that I learned has served me to now. So yeah, there are no, I don't have any regrets in life. Would you do, if you could start it all again, would you do it differently? I don't know, because I wouldn't be who I am now. Yeah. I wouldn't have the life lessons. I wouldn't have that experience. I wouldn't have that empathy, sympathy, and be able to resonate with people without it. I would just be ordinary James. I wouldn't be the person I am now. So like, what's meant to be will be. The path that you're on, whether it's predetermined or not.
Yeah.
Like, I'd do it again.
There's a few phrases that I like, mate. One of them being post-traumatic growth. I love that phrase because it turns a trauma into a positive.
Yeah.
And that is touching on what you've just said there. Once you can learn to, it sounds like a strange turn of phrase, and there will be people out there that will listen and think, oh, this happened to me, how can I possibly be grateful for that? But once you can learn to see the positive in a trauma and take it and go, okay, that happened, it was shit, but look what I learned from that. Look how I've grown, look what I've experienced from it, look how I've helped others as a result of that trauma.
Yep.
It frees yourself, it frees your own mind, where you can let that baggage go.
Yep.
And you can stop being a victim to whatever happened to you. You can then grow through it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to nick that. That's really good. That I think, you're right. I think in terms of like, if you go through crap, and if the learning of that means that you don't put yourself back in that situation or attract that kind of people again, then you go through it once. You don't need to go through it again. So there's the growth. There's the lesson.
then hopefully you can pay it forward to other people that they then never have to experience.
You make them aware of signs or what else. Don't put yourself in that kind of situation.
Yeah. But again, to me, it's just that whole mindset shift that takes. You can dwell on your traumas. I know, I've been through traumas myself, and they're still painful. But I try, and this is a journey, isn't it? So I try to see the positives and see the growth. There's still moments I slip. I'm still guilty of self-pity now and again.
100%. So I can be a right grumpy twat sometimes, but you've got to catch yourself sometimes. That's
exactly
it.
that.
Like you can be like, right, okay, I've done me like wallowing, I've done me moaning. What am I going to do? We've got to do it. Or like, I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Right, okay, you put it off for like 2 hours. You got to do it now. Come on. And then you got to pull yourself together. And then when you've done it, it's like, I'm glad I've done that. Like tick for the day or whatever, like your little routine that you need to do, you've done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's next? And it's just like the snowball effect. But yeah.
I love it, mate. Again, having somebody like you in your corner for the people that reach out and need that help, mate, is so invaluable. I mean, on that, so tell me a bit about your new program, your new branding.
Yeah, so obviously it's still very much. It's just like I don't want to say rebrand. I keep saying like it's evolved because I'm gonna go from my current page, which is James the Mental Health PT, is going to become my own personal page. So for obviously like for podcasts and whatnot and family stuff and football gym will go on there. But I'm going to create a new Instagram page solely for my business, which is obviously the Ultimate Body and Mind, which encompasses everything anyway. It's just sexed up in a different way. So the training program is still online. I've still got my app. Obviously changed the name of the app to it as well. Pretty much everything is the same. It's just like the rebrand of the evolution of my name. It coincides with the extra stuff that I've been through. And it's the new version of me from this year, from April. Like my year started in April. Everything like died a death at the start of the year because I was just in hiatus of seemingly trying to sort my life out. Yeah. So my year started in April. So
the new business is going to be the Ultimate Body and Mind.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, so it's going to be that's going to be the new Instagram page. The reason for that is because obviously my following at the minute is very mishmash of like people that have come in different chapters of my progression, and I don't have a dedicated page. So I've got my new website. Obviously the new school community will be launched soon. I'd have my new Instagram page. So the followers from that are going to be people that are solely interested in the business. Obviously there'll be cross-referencing back between each channel, but I think it's that time of having something just completely dedicated to the coaching. So everything in there is going to be explaining the various, how I train, what my methods of training, why, the benefits of it, who I help, why it helps, and obviously links to the bits about my lived experience. And I'm not just a coach that's saying I do this, do that. It's like I've been in the trenches with you. So obviously I'll cover my own experiences of all the things that I've been through, just so people can be able to resonate that I'm not just like do this, say this. It's like I'm like, do this, say this because I've been through this.
I mean, look, mate, for anyone who's listening now who's thinking, do you know what? I like the sound of this James fella. For anyone who wants more information about what you offer, what you do, because it sounds like you're in that transition to the new page, would people, what's the best way, if anyone listening to this now, let's say now and future, because could be somebody listens to this in 6 months' time. Anyone who's listening to this, what's the best way to reach out and get more information on what you do?
Obviously, the website will be ultimatebodyandmind.com. Obviously, there'll be my contact details on there, and it will be Instagram. Obviously, it'll either be through Ultimate Body and Mind page or see my personal page, which will probably by the time this is out, it will be changed to James Roffey. Okay. So obviously, whether you put both links
is a new page imminent?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be up by next week.
Right. I'll put all of James's details, new page, personal page, on the episode description, so you can reach out and find James and speak to him if you need any more info on anything.
Obviously, everything I do, it's like there's always like it's hard to. It's just having a chat. People call it a consultation or a coaching call. It's not. It's just having a chat. Like what you're dealing with. How do you want to change it? Is it a right fit? Is what I offer going to be suitable for you? I turn loads of people away if I don't think it's beneficial to them.
Yeah,
because to me, it's just like I'm not just trying to take your money. Like, it's not, to me, working with me isn't a 3-month transformation. It's like 6 months to a year to 2 years for people that are literally looking to make them. I go against the social media norms. It's not the quick change. It's like, and obviously nothing worth having comes quick. And obviously, if you're already in a routine of your life, you're trying to facilitate small changes, and that's it. Small changes take time. So obviously, there's no like, you're not tied in for months on end. It's I think 3 months is the minimum term. But obviously, like, we're looking at making small changes in your life that are going to impact you for the rest of your life, not just for a little transformation pick at the end of.
Previous guest last week, mate, he said, what was it? Anything that comes in life fast will leave you twice as fast.
100%. Because what do you learn? And obviously the small transformation changes. They're a good thing to see what you can physically and mentally do, but are you actually learning the real, like, key fundamentals to be able to implement into your life going forward? Probably not.
No.
It's like when people that make a business, it fails, you start again, it fails, you start again, and then it progresses, and then you become successful. Like, if it all goes to shit again, you've got them building blocks. If you win the lottery and you spank it, what have you learned? Nothing. And obviously that's whereby, to me, it's like, I've tried, I've failed, I've tried, I've failed, and I've got something now which I'm building. And obviously that's why it's taken 10 years. Like, this year I've been in my transformation, recovery, like James 2.0, whatever you want to call it, for this is my 10th year of recovery now, and obviously it's the same amount of time that I had my eating disorder. Yeah. So it's kind of like I've had it. I've not had it for as long as I had it, which is kind of like a full circle kind of thing as well. So, like, the person that I am now has taken 10 years. 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, and mate, that experience can't be bought.
No,
you can't. As I said before, your own experience, you wouldn't wish it on anybody, but now you've taken the gift that has given you in order to be able to bring your own sort of like insight into people is unique.
Yeah,
because of your own lived experience. Yeah. It's built you to the man you are today, which is different to anyone else.
Yeah,
and also we mentioned this before, a little bit like therapists with PTs. You've got to find the right one for you.
Yeah.
So your experience and the way you handle things is going to resonate with a demographic of people in a way that other PTs won't.
No.
And it's finding your tribe, isn't it? It's finding the people that work with you.
Like I said, like, I'm not a boot camp person, but it's almost like it's not even like a reverse psychology thing. It's just almost like you want to change, and like, I'm helping you change. Obviously, like, the longer you sit on it, the longer it's going to take. And it's obviously like, ultimately, like, I want you to be as the best version of you possible in the quickest, but it's like the quickest but most important amount of time that you learn everything you need. So within a year, you don't need anybody else.
Yeah,
like, you can dip in with me if you want, but it's more education rather than train like that, eat like that, do that. Because, like, what you're learning, you're just doing stuff by my instruction. Like, like you're training like this because of this. We're eating this because it's what it's doing to you. And obviously the balance that we're having within your life with work and relationships, and this is the reason why. So it's more just the empowerment of the foundation that after, when you feel that you're ready, again, like the old analogy of like if stuff's failing, going to shit. If life does go to crap, you've got that building block again that you don't need to come back to me. You may well want to, but you've got enough in you to rebuild your life. You've got the foundations to rebuild because you've learnt that over a period of time.
So you offer the knowledge. It's that the thing, isn't it? You can teach a man to fish kind of thing.
Yeah.
You give the knowledge that they can go and learn to fish themselves rather than just giving them the fish.
Yeah, because to me, again, it's just like whether that's from a business point of view, is that the best way to grow your business? Probably not. from just a rinse and repeat point of view. But to me, it's like I don't want that. To me, it's just like, can I make a business that is going to serve me for the rest of my life and be able to help other people? Yeah, I'll do it like that. It's about having like that honesty and integrity. Like, I wouldn't want to have someone for longer than is needed. Like, I wouldn't want to train with someone that I know they're not going to get any benefit out of working for me. Like, I don't think you need me. I think you need someone else. I think you need more of a, like the mental side of things you've got down to a T. You need far more accountability, or you want someone that's more of a boot camp PT or an online coach. Go and speak to X, Y, and Z, because I think they'll serve you better. Like,
great outlook, mate.
To me, it's like if I do that, I'm going to get it back somehow, in some way, shape, or form. It's like what you put out, you get back. And if you're handing out like recommendations to people, you're going to get it back yourself.
Absolutely. So, and you know, the people that might not fit with you and fit with somebody else, it'll be the same in reverse.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I said it. This will be the third time now, but I do genuinely love what you're doing. Love your approach to it. I love your ethics behind what you do. I think that's massive. And I think the evolution is a great idea, mate. I think it will kick you on, because as sad as the stigma is, you have to recognise that it's there.
Yep.
And from a business point of view, it makes all the business sense in the world to just if there's a stumbling block and you can move it out of the way, move it out of the way.
Yeah, I think I think I've got plans to obviously bring other people on, and if I've got a business name rather than me, people aren't going to work. What people are going to want to be able to build their own reputation under a business name rather than me. So again, it's just another way of it. It just helps. It helps everyone in the long run.
Mate, I'm absolutely sure you're going to smash it. And anyone that's listened to this episode and thinks that James sounds like a good fit, you want to get on board, you want some life coaching, some PT work, give James a shout. Mate, is there anything that we haven't discussed that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
It's been fantastic, mate. As always, I've learned a lot. I love doing these episodes. I love learning from my guests. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Once again, you can find James in his details will be in the episode description below. Before we finish, quick thanks to the Funky Peach, who are our guest merchandise providers, who I'm going to bestow James with a hoodie, a t-shirt with a Talking Tradesman branding on. So thank you to you guys for supplying that for our guests. And that's about it for this one then, mate.
Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. I'll catch you soon on the next one.